score of the game played at Hard Rock Stadium on Saturday was 69-0. So how can there be so much to talk about tonight as we journey down the mountainous road that always is CaneSport Live? You have the Canes quarterback situation with beating up the Eric King, who has moved around in practice a little bit this week. But that certainly doesn't mean that he's going to be ready to go Thursday night against Virginia. So assuming King is unable to play for a second straight game, did everyone like what they saw from Tyler Van Dyke and Jake Garcia? Did they like it enough to feel comfortable going into a game that is looking like it could be a shootout with Virginia's offense putting up ridiculous numbers so far this season? And then you have a lineman gate. Kirk Herbstreit's comments on ESPN Game Day Saturday criticizing the Miami administration, which prompted Manny Diaz to come to his boss's defense yesterday at the start of his weekly press conference. You have former safety Benny Blades asking that the administration and Blake James have a meeting with him to discuss the future of the program. And then in the meantime, you have the fan base that's all but demanding that Manny Diaz play the younger players on the roster after watching the Vets lose to North Carolina, Oklahoma State, Alabama, and Michigan State in the last 4 games against reasonable competition. Those younger players obviously include 5-star defensive tackle Leonard Taylor, who debunked rumors that he was upset at his lack of playing time and looking into a transfer to Florida in his blog today at CaneSport.com. That's a lot of distractions as the Hurricanes get ready to kick off ACC play Thursday night at 8 o'clock sharp with a primetime date against Virginia. We're going to talk about all of that and more tonight as we embark on this new edition of CaneSport Live. Hello again, everybody. I'm Gary Ferman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, and we welcome you once again to CaneSport Live. As always, it's your show. It'll be driven by your participation. The call-in number, 563-999-3550. That's 563-999-3550. You hit the number 1 on your keypad if you want to come on the show. That puts you in the queue. We bring you on the show in the order that you land in the queue. We once again ask the subscribers at CaneSport.com to post the topics and questions that they would like to hear discussed on tonight's show, and we will address those during the course of the evening. So without a game to dissect, in the wake of Saturday's 69-0 rout of overmatched Central Connecticut State, we certainly needed some compelling topics to consume the oxygen in the room on tonight's show. And boy, is the Miami Hurricanes football program delivering on all of that. I mentioned that Saturday morning, ESPN announcer Kirk Herbstreit decided to drop some whoop ass on the Miami administration on ESPN's College Game Day show. For those of you that did not hear it, here's what Herbie and the crew had to say.
Both of these programs, such rich history, and they have been dreadful in the early part of the season. The numbers speak for themselves. Let's start with Miami. How do you view that?
I go all the way back to 2006. It was last year that Larry Coker was the coach there. That's 15 years. Miami has averaged 7-5 since 2006. They've had 5 head coaches. You just think about, with the Orange Bowl gone, the student body has to drive 45 minutes to go to their games. You have a athletic department that clearly is not really showing that this is something that they are willing to try to make changes. The president, there was an article from Barry Jackson this week that came out, said that the president basically told Blake James, the AD, hey, sports, you're on your own. That's your thing. I don't know if that's true. It was in an article. To me, college football, you look at the powerhouse programs, Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, president, AD, head coach, same vision. Have all the same, they're aligned in their vision for what needs to happen, recruiting, budget, staff, whatever it means, that's what it takes. Miami doesn't have that. So I don't think it matters who the head coach is until you get a president and an AD and a coach together on the same page.
Yep.
I guess football doesn't matter. It matters to the alums, to the brotherhood of the U.
Right.
But I don't know if it matters to the people making decisions at Miami. And if they don't change that, It doesn't matter who the head coach is.
It seems like that's the issue with two of the biggest, strongest programs, the biggest programs in college football in the state of Florida, because you look at Florida State, and they're struggling too. And when I look at both programs, I think that they have talent. You know, they have good recruiting classes. I think there's one thing to develop the talent. I was talking to Coach Corso, and he said, these guys, they're not hitting on quarterbacks. Okay, well, why aren't they hitting on quarterbacks? Are they bringing in quarterbacks that they think can play and compete at this level, and they're not developing them? Because it's one thing to recruit guys, and everyone doesn't have to be a 4 or 5-star talent.
Yeah,
it can be a 2 or 3-star, yeah.
Love ball.
Come on,
yeah.
Get them on campus and develop them, and that's what I see a lack of when I look at Miami, when I look at Florida State. You got to develop whatever you got. I mean, there's so many coaches out there in programs who are winning, and if they're not winning, they're at least competitive in the games that they're losing, and they ain't got 4 or 5-star guys, David.
All right, Des. So last all-ACC performer from Miami at the quarterback spot.
Was who?
Give it to me.
Oh, wait.
Ken Dorsey. Gino Toretta.
I was going to say, yeah, Dorsey. Dorsey's the last.
2004.
That was Big E.
Last one for Florida State was Jameis, 2014. They got to identify those guys. You got to get the trigger man. They make everybody better around the whole program. Bear, you can't be excited about Miami, Bear. I mean,
what's going on?
You can't be. And
alma mater.
Kirk just mentioned too. It's not just football though. They had the entire basketball team basically left. They had baseball players transfer, like their cleanup hitters transferred to Florida State. There's something going on within the entire athletic department that isn't right. Now, I know there are people there that think the AD should be the place of Blake, and that that whoever makes the next hire should not be him. So, but there's something going on there deeper than just one loss record on the field.
They're already talking about the next hire, huh?
Yeah, much deeper.
It's kind of worse second time you hear it. But those comments clearly rattled some folks on campus and certainly inside the athletic department. Rattled them to the point that Manny Diaz opened his weekly press conference yesterday with a rebuttal. And here's what Manny had to say.
I actually want to start off with a response to some comments that were made this weekend on ESPN about our university, and specifically about the administration at our university, and the assumption that there's a lack of caring, a lack of standards for athletics at the University of Miami. And I want to remind everybody, it's not 14 months ago when we were in the grips of the coronavirus pandemic, and the narrative was that there's no way college football should go on in the middle of the coronavirus pandemic. No way. And we were out on the practice field in August, and it looked like the season was going to get canceled. And in my eyes, only through the leadership of our president, Dr. Julio Frank, going on record as an expert in infectious diseases and saying, not only can we have school on campus and the students on campus, which was not a widely held belief at that time, but we can play a college football season. Now, that would be a strong take for someone that didn't really seem that interested in athletics. Those two things don't really add up. And because of that, we forget, because we played a 2020 season, not just at Miami, but everywhere. If there not been his leadership, I don't know if the ACC would have agreed to play. And without the ACC, the Big 12 would have for sure dropped out. And then the Big 10 and Pac-12 had already, said they were not going to play football. So all of the memories, the records, the performances from a year ago have a lot to do with how much Dr. Frank feels about college athletics, and specifically athletics at the University of Miami. There was mentions about resources, and I will just tell you from the time that I've been here at the University of Miami, what I've seen change on our campus. The new dorms, the new Lakeside Village, people always recruited against Miami in terms of the dorms. The stadium, we still beat the drum on the stadium. In my mind, we've got as nice of a stadium as anybody in college football. It's amazing what $500 million will do for you. And I sat in the Orange Bowl. I saw how many students came to the games in the 80s in the Orange Bowl. I was around for 4 of the 5 national championships before I graduated high school. It was what it was, whether it's a 20-minute drive to Little Havana or a 35-minute drive to Miami Gardens. It is what it is. We love our stadium. It's a big-time atmosphere. It's a big-time place. It's a great place to host recruits. The indoor facility behind me, the SOFR indoor facility behind me, phenomenal. We're attacking the locker room next. There's just a lot of things that are changing on the positive here, and And I will tell you that the last two recruiting classes that we signed are really the first two classes that have been around when all this stuff existed. It wasn't pictures. It wasn't hopes or dreams or promises of when you come, we'll get these things. That class of 2020, Tyler Van Dyke's class, and Jalen Rivers and Elijah Roberts and Chance Williams and Restrepo, Flagg, all these guys that are making a lot of big time plays right now. Those are the ones that saw this. Those are the guys that committed to Miami on the back of a 6th and 7th season. And then you saw the 21 class, and I mean, Saturday's game was a commercial for the last two recruiting classes that we've had here at the University of Miami. Those classes don't happen without us increasing the resources and the support from our administration of what it takes to win here. Now, I will say this, there will always be somebody with more resources. And I will tell you, that's not a Miami problem. That's a college football problem with a capital P that no one really wants to talk about. I mean, the growing disparity in the economic situations of the different athletic departments across college football, and what you're seeing now with conference expansion and the TV rights and all this type of stuff, that's a reality. And that just is what it is. But our best resource here at the University of Miami has always been our people. Always. That's always what we've won with, is our people. And people first, talk about our players. And that's why recruiting is so important. One game from last weekend doesn't fix anything. It doesn't absolve us from the performances of our first 3 weeks. I'm completely responsible for that. But I know this, what I've learned in my job is that, and I'm sure this is true in any profession, is if you want the organization to be better, you add better people to the organization. And I can tell you for a fact, with the support of our administration, our staff has improved every year. On the field staff, off the field staff, our support and recruiting staff has increased and gotten better every year. And our locker room has gotten better every year. It's not where we need to be yet. It's our job to develop these guys and to put them in position to be successful on Saturdays or Thursday like this week. But the only way forward at the University of Miami is through recruiting. And we cannot turn, we can't turn and push our recruits away from our program because of something that happens in the short term. The fix is our people. The fix is continuing to get the guys in this area that want to come and play for the University of Miami, and when we go out of area to sell them on the vision that we got going on here. And we got a lot of good things going on in evidence by these last two recruiting classes. So that's the only way forward. It's going to be the only way forward. Otherwise, we'll repeat the same loop over and over again, turning on ourselves and driving our recruits away, driving our people away. That's not the vision for this university. It's certainly not the vision of this athletic department, and it's not the vision of this football program, which I'll tell you, all three of those visions are completely aligned. In our mind, we were.
All right. So did Manny do a good job rebutting the crew at ESPN? I'm sure we'll have a little conversation about that this evening. And the entire episode even woke up former All-American safety Benny Blades, who revealed on social media that he had contacted Blake James and Julio Frank to request a joint meeting with the pair. We tried to get Benny on tonight's show. He's a little under the weather. I'm sure we will get him here at some point in the near future to talk a little bit about that. And then, if all of this other drama weren't enough, there's the fan base's cry for Diaz to make wholesale lineup changes and play the younger players on the roster in the wake of losing 4 straight games to quality competition. And we did a poll on our Twitter, and I think it came in like 98% of the fans think that there should be a youth movement on this team. And I was kind of surprised by that because, listen, it's one thing to call for younger players to play, but playing younger players does come with some baggage. I mean, they're going to make mistakes. The speed of the game is enormously faster than anything they're used to. The speed at which they have to make decisions on the field is enormously faster than anything they're used to. And that's why you see coaches tend to lean towards playing their older players. So understanding all of that, I also had a chance in that press conference yesterday to ask Manny about that subject of the fans crying for a youth movement and where he stands on the whole thing. And this is what he said.
Yeah, Well, I think you kind of said it yourself. I mean, you handle those things on a case-by-case basis. It's, who's in front, who's the older guy that you're speaking of, and who's the younger guy, what are they capable of? And because really the idea is what kind of role are they capable of? I mean, are they able to play every snap? It's a major difference, not just in terms of the assignment, but can they handle the expectation, because, their mistakes get magnified. Like, for example, obviously the young wideouts were so impressive, right? Charleston Rambo is so impressive. And Keyshawn Smith, who's still a young guy, is very impressive. And, you got, Burchard's doing great things. Restrepo's still impressive. And Mike Harley's still, one of your top leaders. So that's a good problem. What you really want is you want the rising tide to sort of float all boats. Now, if you have an older guy that's not performing, then maybe his role has to, go down. I don't know that it can ever go, 100 to 0 to 0 to 100. But you certainly, as you get a sense for how these guys respond in games, you get a sense in terms of what the snap count should be, how much they can handle, how much exposure they can get to the game. But it's obviously, Gary, as you know, it's going to be a different speed out there Thursday night than what it was on Saturday. Saturday went exactly the way we wanted it to go. And we think that those guys, their roles are going to increase at whatever spot you mentioned. But the stakes are going to be high on Thursday, as it will every week going forward. In our mind, we were.
All right, so there's Manny on the subject. And obviously, Leonard Taylor is one of the younger players that everyone's looking at. And last week, there were rumors that he was upset at his lack of playing time so far this season and that he was contemplating transferring to the University of Florida. We finally had the opportunity to sit down with Leonard in preparing his blog for today and discuss these things with him and hear from him on exactly what was going through his mind. And he refuted it all in the blog. If you haven't had a chance to read it on CaneSport.com today, I urge you to do so, maybe even while you're listening to this show. But here's a little snippet of what Leonard had to say on that subject.
But I had to realize, it's older guys in front of me, so they've been here long. They know more than I do, so just sitting there being patient waiting my turn. I don't like that. I ain't like that, but I have to do that. But me doing that, it takes time for me not to, be so, intense in it, because everybody, looking at me because I'm the high recruit. I understand why I wasn't playing. You just can't. Coach did throw a lot of plays at me. All right, I had to sit there and actually look at them and listen on how to adjust to the lineman and play my position. So it was understandable why I didn't play. So, because why put me out there if I don't know what I'm doing? If everybody else doing the job, I got to know my job. I try not to pay attention to it. That rumor I don't know how that rumor happened. So, I had to make that statement on Twitter, I'm a Cane, I'm here, blah, blah, blah. So I'm chilling here. I like it here. I had to wait my turn for a little bit, and I'm fine with that.
All right. So all of that sets the table for quite a bit to talk about tonight. So let's go out to your calls. 563-999-3550, 563-999-3550. You hit the 1 on your keypad if you want to come on the show. We're starting out tonight in the 305. You are live on CaneSport Live. How you doing this evening?
Good, Gary. How are you this evening?
Doing good. Who's this, Adam?
Yeah. First
hey, I thought I
recognized
recognized
all year.
How you doing, Adam?
Good. A couple things. One, I just want to refute what Chris Felica said. The reason Alex Terrell transferred is Gino DiMari thought he was going to get drafted, and he didn't. So they didn't have a scholarship for him. So it's not just like a kid complaining about playing time and leaving for Florida State. So I don't know where Felica got
I'll
that
say
from.
this. Here's what happened, Adam, because I know how this all works. A producer sees an article in the newspaper and says, hey, this will be a good discussion topic, and brings it to the group meeting when they're planning the show. And they decide they're going to do a segment on Miami and Florida State struggling, and they give the on-air talent some notes. And they go with it, and that's what happened. And no, those guys didn't totally do their homework. They're all quality, obviously, personalities and broadcasters, but they're going by what's being given to them by their researchers and producers. And no, they didn't call Gino DiMari to find out what happened in that situation. They didn't call Jim Larinaga to find out that he's gotten 3 or 4 real impact guys added to the roster this year, and that the basketball team has a chance to be at worst mid-tier in the ACC this year, and to give some challenges to some of the other higher teams. And from the football standpoint, Adam, I mean, obviously there's a lot of distress over what's going on in football, but they weren't totally up to speed on all of that stuff either. So, I mean, listen, it's a hot topic. When Miami loses, it's news, and you can't knock them from having the discussion. But could they have been a little bit more in tune to what's going on? Probably. But again, that's the fault of their producers and their researchers.
Okay. A couple things. One, have you heard anything about Mark Pope switching a corner? Because apparently a couple weeks ago.
He was not going to play at receiver. He's not going to play at receiver. That was totally obvious. He's way down the depth chart at receiver, and he went to the coaches, and he's looking at his football future and probably wondering, maybe I can play corner. Maybe I can be the next Sam Shields and play corner. The problem that I see with it, and I don't expect to see Mark Pope at corner for the Miami Hurricanes this year, is that Mark Pope is not the thickest, most physical guy in the world, and I'm not sure that he would ever survive at corner, but I understand why he wanted to try it, and the coaches were willing to invest the time in letting him do so. You can argue that if you want. You want to have a debate on whether during the season is the time to be doing that. I'm not sure it is, but they gave him a chance. He's taken reps out at corner, and he actually got a couple plays in the game the other night. Late in the game, they actually put him in at corner in the game, which I thought was kind of cool. But, I wouldn't be too consumed with that one.
Okay, and a couple other things. One, do you think, and I'm not saying it's there now, but do you think sooner rather than later, if the current slide continues, it'll get to the point where Blake James might have to do what he did to Al Golden a couple years ago, or what Mike Bond did this year, and say, you know what? It's time to reassess. Let's cut our losses, and we'll go into this offseason and reassess our football program without Manny going forward, if the play continues as it's looked against Alabama and again versus Michigan State.
Adam, I honestly think it's 1 week at a time.
Okay.
I mean, here, I think you got to see how it goes. I mean, I hope everybody's hoping it goes well. Listen, at the end of the day, you only get one football season a year. Everybody that's a Miami Hurricanes fan, this is their passion. You're supposed to get enjoyment out of the football season, and I know it's been a rough start for everybody. But you got ACC play starting tomorrow night or Thursday night. It's going to be a very exciting ACC season. A lot of these teams can score points. They've got quarterbacks. This is going to be some exciting games, win or lose. I mean, I think there's going to be a lot of close games, just like there were last year. Last year, they got the benefit of winning all those close games, and that's why they finished 8-3. That easily could have been a 5-win season last year had those bounces not gone Miami's way. You got to hope they don't balance out this year, but there are going to be close games. All these teams are showing up confident. Even Georgia Tech is showing that they're improved in how they performed the other night. So I just would like to see, me personally, would like to see everybody just take a deep breath and try to enjoy it a little bit and get some joy out of football season. And if things don't go well, I think it's week to week. I mean, I think anything can happen. I mean, at some point, Blake would realize if things go bad that he better get the fan base behind him, and he might have to make a move. But I think it's too soon to even really start anticipating that. I mean, you're 2-2. You're going into the ACC schedule. You still have the season in front of you. Your realistic goal, was to get to Charlotte, and that's still there. So let's see what happens.
Okay. I was saying because USC fired Clay Helton so early this year.
Maybe that puts a little bit of pressure, but you got to remember, Clay Helton was there for 7 years. Manny's going into year 3. So I don't think it's the same. It's not apples to apples. There very rarely is an inclination to fire a coach, 2 seasons and 3, 4, 5 games into his tenure. I mean, I got to believe it would have to get pretty bad for that to happen. I would not anticipate that. But if it all falls apart and, you lose to Virginia, you lose to North Carolina, You lose to NC State, you lose to Pittsburgh, or lose 3 of the 4, or anything along those lines. Well, then decisions have to be made. But right now, I think everybody should be focused on beating Virginia.
Well, definitely. And 2 more points. One on recruiting. Any word with like Earl Little Jr. or any of the recruits? Because it seems what's gotten lost in this bad start and the sky is falling is there's been no news on recruits. And that I feel is even coming out of a pandemic rare. Because even last year we were talking about recruiting. And you could see even programs like Florida State that are really down are still getting recruits on campus.
Yeah, it's a little quiet right now, Adam. It just absolutely is. I mean, you don't have a ton of scholarships this year, and B, the kids that were going to commit early have already committed, and now you're going into the season, and a lot of kids are sitting on the fence, sitting there waiting to see how the season goes for the teams that they're considering. So it will obviously pick up at some point, and might be towards the latter part of the season more so than right now, especially with the way the first part of the season is gone. But yeah, I mean, I understand what you're saying. I mean, you would certainly like to see it going better than it is, and we'll just have to see what happens as it goes forward. I agree with you, though. I mean, I think there is a little bit of reason for concern.
And last thing, what is your gut on Thursday? Do we see De'Ara King? Or do we see either Van Dyke or Garcia?
I personally can't imagine De'Ara King coming back for this game. He's in a sling on Saturday. And now they're going to roll him out there and play on Thursday. I'm expecting to see the young kids. I think that De'Ara King will try to get back for North Carolina if he can. You've got 17 days between games. That seems more realistic to me, but there has not been an official declaration one way or the other.
Well, I saw on the depth chart they still listed him as number 1 on the depth chart for what it's worth.
Yeah, they're not they're not looking to tip their hand, and B, they're not looking to disrespect De'Ara King. He is still the number 1 quarterback on this team.
Well, thanks for taking my call, Gary. Have a great
rest
of the
Adam,
show.
Thanks for getting us started tonight. All right, 563-999-3550, 563-999-3550. You hit the 1 on your keypad. If you want to come on the show, let's go down to the 786. You're live on CaneSport Live.
Gary, my friend, how are you?
What's going on, everything? How you doing this week?
Doing really well. Thank you, Gary. You've covered a lot in your opening there tonight, and it's hilarious how sometimes we get caught up in our disappointments. We get caught up with all the negativity that's going on, and we forget about all the kids that are out there. And last week, I really wanted to emphasize that part, and I got caught up trying to explain certain things to you that have been shared with me, and you weren't too receptive of that. And honestly, Gary, over the years, the stuff that I've mentioned over the years, you've never been totally receptive on it, and we're acknowledging it, and that's okay. We all have our opinions. We all have our sources, the people that we know. It's a very small world, as you know. And what I mentioned last week,
it was only when you said that you didn't think Nike would want to get Miami back from Adidas.
I never said a brand, by the way, but that's okay. I never said a brand, but that's okay. But I mentioned that we were at the forefront of losing our existence on a credible national level, and that was the message I was trying to get across. And your explanation tonight of why the story was on Herbstreit, it wasn't Barry Jackson's story. The truth of the matter is Barry Jackson's story was the opening for them to address it, to be able to have some type of direction as to where the comments were coming from. But there are certain people that work for ESPN, that have worked for ESPN since Scholastic Sports America in 1991. Okay, and that person lives in South Florida, and that agent that he has works with another agent that represents many people in South Florida that play professional sports, that are involved in other avenues. It's a small world, Gary. What I was told was that one of our guys that always tries to make everybody happy had lunch with that person last week, and that was done pretty much on point with Barry's recent article. There was an article in The Athletic not too long ago, something similar to it, but it wasn't that specific. I don't think Manny Diaz was that specific with it. But the specificity that was provided by him opened the door for what's happened. You've got a lot of people that need Miami to be significant on the national level. So this was an opportunity to help us. It wasn't a criticism to bash Miami a la Sports Illustrated. It really wasn't. The intention here was to make it national. And that was done strategically on purpose by certain people behind the scenes. And that's the God's honest truth. And that's the people, and that's the same people that I have shared various pieces of information with you over the years. And the most important thing that Manny Diaz did was do exactly what a good soldier is supposed to be, turn a negative into a positive. And for the many flaws that he possesses, whether it's what he teaches in practice, whether it's the adjustments he makes, whether it's his scheme, whatever we want to say about the guy is smart enough to take a negative and try to make it into a positive. And I think he did the right thing by saying the things that he said yesterday with Joe Rose, what he shared with his opening remarks yesterday with his press conference. So he's embracing it and he's trying to turn it into a positive. And when you do that, Gary, you're basically you're not giving a pass to the administration, to the BOT. What you're doing is saying, hey, I've got your back. We need more. And they've done a great job in certain areas with regards to bringing the funds available to do the things that they've done, and we've done, because I gave money just like you gave money to the IPF. So they've done some good things, and we can't just pretty much just disregard those things. But we needed the most important things to be in place. And I think that he's getting there. I think he's getting the message. He's confirming the message. It's a national issue now. Everybody's aware. And yes, if we continue to suck, not just in football, but everything else, our brand, which has lost a ton of power since, Mark Richt came in, that we had that magical season, then it fell apart that same year. But we've had such a major drop-off. Look at the sales. It's not just COVID. It's dollars and cents at the end of the day, Gary. And as we all know, even with the long-term contract with Adidas, they both had the option the last 2 years to back out. And that's what's been shared. So either we. I'm gonna stay calm and patient with you tonight. But listen, I don't see anything positive. I don't know who you're talking about that thought that would be a positive if they could get Kirk Herbstreit and those guys on game day to go on that diatribe for 5 minutes about Miami and all the negative aspects of it that they brought up. But there's zero positive to that. So I would love to know who these power guys are behind the scenes that you're saying talk to ESPN. That no longer want to do their current jobs. And there's a couple that no longer want to do the job anymore, Gary. They've got bigger things in life to worry about, and they don't want to be involved anymore. Yeah, that's the point where it's getting. But let's move on from that. Well, wait, time out. Let me finish. So there was no positive in that, and I get what you're saying about Manny's rebuttal, but me personally, I would have let the story die. I don't know that I would have come back for 5 more minutes and given it that even more life by rebutting it, because parts of it were accurate, parts of it were not so accurate, and so I get why they decided to have Manny do that and why Manny might have wanted to do it. But look, the way the University of Miami football program defends itself is by winning football games, and losing to Alabama and losing to Michigan State has nothing to do with whether Julio Frank and Blake James are aligned with each other and whether they're aligned with Manny. That's all a bunch of noise and nonsense. It has to do with the head football coach doing his job well, with the staff below him doing their job well, recruiting quality players, developing the players, developing quality game plans, and then performing, setting the players up to perform on game day. And there's holes in almost every area of that foundation, and that's why things are falling apart on game day. That's why when it doesn't matter who they're playing, whether it's Oklahoma State, North Carolina, Alabama, Michigan State, you can go back to the previous season. FIU, did it matter? Louisiana Tech, did it matter? No. Duke, did it matter? It really doesn't matter, because when you have all of these
like holes in the hull of your boat, you're going to keep losing games. And that has nothing to do with anything that they said on game day. And, that's what's going to have to change for this program to rebuild its image and just change the mood in the room and the narrative on those national shows. And with respect to the people that thought that was a good idea for that to happen, I'm sure there are guys that have been around a long time and are worthy of respect and all that. There was nothing in my mind positive about any of it. Not what was said on Saturday, not the rebuttal, not the conversations about it that are going on all over the place. None of it.
Everything for a reason, Gary. Everything for a reason, my friend. Now, going forward, Gary, you mentioned winning. We have a great opportunity. You've got 8 consecutive ACC games. Why is it that we can't have any positivity? Why is it that we can't have any faith? Why is it that we can't have a positive outlook that the right changes are being made and that the key kids that turn a program around, specifically the quarterback position, why their development can't impact where we go from here on out? Because whether we want to hear the noise or we don't want to hear the noise, Derek King is not the same kid he was a year ago. That's the bottom line. And now he's hurt. Let's all acknowledge the obvious. 2 young guys, that they're going to be the ones playing on Thursday. Derek is not playing on Thursday. There's no way in hell he's playing on Thursday. So let's hope that one of these young guys can actually put in play and apply what they've been working on the last year and a half, or 6 months. Because that's your true test as a coach. Can you simplify things? Can you find what they're good at? Can you go ahead and create a game plan that's centered around their strengths that still is able to hide your weaknesses? That's a big challenge for this coaching staff this week. We all know that Bronco Mendenhall is a tremendous defensive coach, Gary. Guy is solid. There isn't a person out there that knows football that will say anything different. So what approach are we going to have? So if we're able to do our job as coaches, as a staff, to be all aligned on the same page and to be able to redirect kids and get them back when they do screw up, the opportunity is there to be successful to win, Gary. There's enough players. I don't want to keep hearing that there's not enough talent. We got no linebackers. Their body's there. Sometimes you got to live with youth.
It'll depend on the game. It'll depend on the matchup. There'll be enough in some of the games, and in some of the other games, there's going to be some challenges. NC State is one that comes to mind. I think they're going to have a hard time defending Virginia this week. I think they're going to have a hard time defending North Carolina. I think they'll have a hard time defending NC State. There's some Pittsburgh's another one that's playing offense very well right now. They're going to have a hard time defending a lot of these teams. They're going to have to be able to score points. The offensive line at some point is going to have to perform. There's a lot of ifs, buts here. But the one thing I do agree with you on everything is that there are 8 games coming up here, and like I said earlier, I would love to see the fan base able to enjoy it and just be able to get some joy out of football season. All right, what else you got for us tonight? Anything?
Somebody talked about recruiting. Listen, let's leave recruiting alone. Let's just forget about recruiting. Let's just worry about survival. Because if we're able to win games, Gary, if we're able to go win 4 of our next 5, you're still in line to get some quality kids. Some quality kids that are committed to stay, and some quality kids that might not be the first choice at Alabama or Georgia or Florida, that might want to stay home, that might want to give us an opportunity. There's still time. But to really go crazy over it, you're wasting your time. Let's put the energy with winning games. Because that's where it's got to be, G. It's got to be.
All right, everything.
And is Manny the guy to do it, Gary? We're going to find out.
Yep, no doubt. You got a gauntlet here the next month or so we'll see what happens. All right, man. Thank you as always for being part of the show.
Be well, G.
We'll talk to you next week. All right, 563-999-3550, 563-999-3550. You hit the 1 on your keypad if you want to come on the show. Let's go now to the 941. You're live on CaneSport Live.
Hello, Gary. It is the Meister Kane.
What's up, Mr. Kane? 69-0. You surely must have written a song this week.
Well, got a commentary for it, but I can make something up. Well.
Nah, man, I'm waiting for I'm waiting for you to come on the show with a hit from your band. That's what I'm waiting for.
Oh, I see. Well, I got something, but I'm not going to do it because we're waiting on how the season plays out. If the season plays out good, I'll get the band live on the show for you guys. But if it doesn't, well, there's no sense because the words of the song won't back it up. Okay. If you can understand that. But anyway, I do have a commentary, and I call it Meister Kane's Commentary for CaneSport Live. And here we go. This is if the season goes sour. So, the Canes totally destroyed Central Connecticut State 69-0. Some of the freshmen got to play in that game, which is a good thing given the fact for the need of experience. However, there's one thing I must point out, or should I say ask. Where were the fans? The stadium was 90% empty. Yeah, I know this was not a big game, but powerhouses like Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, and etc. almost always seem to fill their stadiums 80 to 90% with fans no matter who the opponent is. So why is that? Those programs are built rock solid in winning. Now, there's a famous saying, if you build it, they will come. Well, some quote-unquote morons thought that building an amusement park in the middle of a swamp, in the middle of nowhere, infested with gators, snakes, and swarms of mosquitoes was a great idea. Yeah, he was laughed at. Well, good luck, Walt Disney. You're going to need it. But this is no laughing matter. It's a system of a larger problem. This program needs a rebuild. So, build this program, and they will come. No excuses, nothing to do with lack of caring or infectious diseases. Those are excuses. And I'm sorry to say, new dorms, new facilities doesn't really build a winning program. As I said last week, the right formula does. Missing right now, people. And that's my commentary for tonight, Gary. Amen.
All right, Meister. Thanks for the wisdom.
All right.
Hopefully they can get some Walt Disney magic going here soon. And then I think when people start talking about the Canes on a national platform, it'll be more favorable.
Well, I hope you're right, Gary. But I'm out for right now. Peace, and shout out to Kane.
All right, Meister. Thanks for being part of the show, man. Shout out to Kane. I'm sure he's somewhere out there, and we'll be hearing from him at some point. All right, 563-999-3550, 563-999-3550. You hit the 1 on your keypad if you want to come on the show. We're going to go now to the 770. You're live on CaneSport Live.
Hey, Gary, this is Steve in Atlanta.
What's up, Steve? How you been, man? This is the first time I think we've heard from you this year.
Yeah, I've been just in the weeds, just watching, disappointed as usual. I'm good.
The Alabama game? Were you at the Alabama game?
Of course, I was in the. I had the best seat in the house up there in the what that is, the mausoleum where they get a free beer, free drinks. I didn't leave till about 30 minutes after the game. You know, I went. You know, I already knew in my mind what was going to happen, but I was hoping for a win. I'm always hoping for a win. I'm always thinking if you got the right coach, he can pull off. You know, I'm thinking we haven't pulled off the upset since Nebraska or whenever we won that first championship. And that's what good coaches are made of. Not the stuff Manny came in and did after Kirk Herbstreit went out there. You might think it wasn't good. I'm glad he did it because nobody down there in the Miami media will say anything except ask all those unrelated questions to winning football games to this guy when he comes up there and prance around with all this buffoonery he be talking. You know, I'm like, dude, somebody asked this guy when is he going to start winning football games? You know, We run all the other quarterbacks out of town saying that Eric King was going to be the savior. And last year he wasn't that great to me. This year, he gets hurt again, and he still didn't start off that great. So what's it going to be? Are these new kids ready, or are they not going to be good enough? We keep talking about missing on recruits. That's the favorite line. They're not missing on recruits. They're missing on the coaching. They're missing on the AD hires. Nobody wants to talk about that. Get somebody in there who knows football, who can get this thing done, and the program will turn around. The recruits will come. Manny ain't going to get no recruits. Who wants to – look, man, I'm sorry. But, Gary, what is Manny – what is he known for? He hasn't put any linebackers in it. Well, maybe he has. Let me stop. I don't know that for a fact. But what do he do? Why is he the head coach and the defensive coordinator of this program? And people get mad because of what Kirk Herbstreit said. Who lets that happen?
I don't disagree with you.
But, who lets that happen? And then, we got these games coming up, and everybody want to talk about how good all these other teams are. These teams was worse off than Miami was when Manny took over. Manny has been at Miami 6 years. People keep forgetting that. Don't say 3 years. He's been in charge of the defense for 6 years, and the defense still don't have enough. He still haven't recruited enough. He still haven't got enough D linemen, D ends, D linebackers, because he's never going to get enough, because by the time he gets he gets 2 or 3 good players every year, and by the time he gets some more, those 3 are going out the program. He's never going to get enough, because he's going to keep making these lame excuses about we're doing this, we're doing that. Julio Frank, he cares about the athletics. No, he cares about that money that they get from the athletics. Who cares about winning? That's what it should be said. Who cares about winning championships? Nobody cares about being a championship program anymore. Letting this guy run around prancing up there, talking that crazy talk. Hey, look, he needs to win this game coming up and all the rest of them. But for me, I think it's time to go in a new direction from him and Blake as fast as possible, because you're not going to be able to recruit with losing. You can't. It's not going to work. So people need to quit asking questions about, we need better recruits. It's not going to happen. And thanks for your time. And I'll be watching Thursday night, hoping we win out. If not, we need to make changes.
Steve, I got to give you credit, man, because I know how passionate you are, and I know how upset you've been for so many years. But man, you're like calm, cool, and collected tonight. I can only imagine how you felt in Atlanta at the Alabama game, sitting up there in the mezzanine, and
man,
you're staying grounded, man. I give you credit.
Hey, yeah, hey, man, hey, it is after you done been, I'm numb to it, because that's the only team that I really, really root for. I got a cousin that plays for the Gators, been there. I always tell you this. He's in his senior year. He wears number 0, Trey Dean III. He asked me to come to the FIU game when we were playing Alabama. I told him I made some type of excuse, because I was going through Gainesville because I drive trucks, and I dropped them off a French Bulldog. And he was like, I say, man, I think we might have a funeral in the family that weekend. But I was at the game I was in section 208, row 3, C8. I mean, directly on the 50. Directly on the 50-yard line.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man. It was look, I had a great time, but you know what I'm saying? Hey, it is what it is at this point. It's time to start winning football games if we want to get recruits.
Yep, no doubt.
We got to win. We got to be, that's it. You got to do a better job with what you got. And I think those 2 young quarterbacks, I think De'Aaron King, what I saw out of him at Houston, and I always told you I thought Nicosia could play. But it's something going on with the design and the schemes, all of that got to work for those guys to be good. I think if they get that right, you can put any of those guys back there and they'll be effective. You know, the receivers don't even run to the first down sticks, Gary. It's 3rd and 4. Our receivers run a 1.5 yard route. Come on, man.
I know, man.
I don't know.
But little things like that are the difference between winning and losing. You know, in the Michigan State game, the thing that, like, of all the things that went on in that game, the one thing that really jumped out to me was watching the precision that Michigan State ran just the bubble screen with, and the physicality at the line of scrimmage, and how those receivers with the ball placement and how they were catching the ball and hitting the hole with force. And like little things like that during the course of a football game is where coaching shows up, and it's the hidden things like that that can make a difference in close games. And a lot of these games, like I said, I think they're going to be close. I think the majority of these games left, Steve, are going to be decided in the fourth quarter.
Hey, think about that. Look at Michigan State coach. How long has he been there? How many recruiting class has he had?
Yeah, no, this is his second year. He brought a lot of transfers in, but that guy came from Alabama. He's got the blueprint. He knows how to run a program. No different than Mario at Oregon and Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss, who's now got Ole Miss rocking, and all these guys that came out of the Saban program. They understand how to run a winning program.
Thank you, Gary. So let's back up since you kept me on. I tried to get off, and I appreciate you keeping me on. I'm going to make one more point because I know a lot of people want to talk. But that's it right there. How many of those guys, everybody like to talk about nobody, who we're going to hire, who wants to come to Miami. But how many of those guys was waiting for a call from Miami? I wanted, way before he got to Florida Gators. But no, it would have been a lot better off with him than what we did. Because he interviewed before Al Golden and before with Mark Richt. Mm-hmm. And rumor is, came to FIU to get close to Miami, and we didn't even sneeze at him. You know what I'm saying? How many opportunities have Miami had to get a good coach and they keep missing? What is going on here? Why is that happening? And people, hey, look, man, I appreciate what Herbie did. We might be on a different side of the fence with that, but it needed to be brought to light. And I would love for you to bring on the president and the AD and let them hear what the fans, what they call noise. This is not noise, Gary. This is disappointment. This is heartache. This is tired of losing. The guy, that's why that guy, the poet, he was spot on. Nobody wants to come see a losing program. All those big-time programs, they're winning. That's why once you start winning, you will get people to show up for every game. But nobody's going to show up with the mess we've been provided with. Somebody asked Gary about all the losses. I mean, ask Manny about when he's going to stop all this losing to these big, Division I schools? What's our record in the last 5 games? 4-1-5, Gary? Mm-hmm. What's the record over the last?
Well, you lost the last couple last year, and then you lost
2 this year.
2 this year. Against quality competition. Yeah.
But if we could have lost, we would have lost to App State if it wasn't for a field goal. And Manny got the nerve to trot out there. You was right. He should have just went somewhere and hid and let that blow over. Cause why is he talking about that game last week like that had made any difference? That team was like playing a high school team.
I don't know that this team gets out of date in Broward. I mean, they were not very good, obviously, and not very competitive.
He mentioned that in a statement like that was something like progress.
Well, he's got to get the kids. He had to change the mood in the room. Let's be honest. I mean, I'll give him a pass on that. I mean, things were pretty miserable after losing to Michigan State. I mean, he had to change the whole mood in the program, and if it takes a 69-0 beatdown of a high school team, then so be it. You know, so that's what I think happened. All right, Steve. Hey, give us a call next week.
Hey, thank you.
I like hearing your voice. Like having you back on the show. All right, man.
Hey,
hopefully we'll talk to you next week. Have a good one. All right, 563-999-3550, 563-999-3550. You hit the 1 on your keypad if you want to come on the show. Let's go out to the 973. You're live on CaneSport Live.
Gary.
What's up, Ross? You must have a lot on your agenda getting in the first hour this week.
Yeah, man. I hear you guys bringing up freaking Mickey Mouse and Disneyland and all that nonsense. Not to be disrespectful, but Manny carried himself like Mickey Mouse. Usually we mention Mickey Mouse sometime as a joke and sometimes it's fun for the kids. But Manny, are you kidding me? You want to bring up the dorms? Manny, about what you – and you saying, Gary, that this didn't help for either one? Gary, we need to stop, baby. Hey, Gary, I understand that you don't like it, but we've been around as long as you. And it's time to put pressure on everything, everyone. Because
pressure,
why no.
There's already pressure.
Yo, but guess what? Guess what?
You think Kirk Herbstreit put more pressure than it already was after losing?
100%.
After getting blown out by Alabama, 100%. Not even being competitive, then almost losing the App State and losing the Michigan State.
Because you know why? Why? Because the App State thing was a joke. It was an absolute. Because we almost was 0-3, Gary. Are you kidding me? If you don't. You get behind the podium, and you have nonsense to say.
Russ, I don't think there's any more pressure on anybody right this minute because of what Kirk Herbstreit said Saturday than there was on Friday last week. There's plenty of pressure, trust me. There's a lot of people feeling it.
But you see, that's your take. Of
course, it's my take.
Yeah, but our take as fans is that the pressure needs to be on and even get even heavier, because if the product is not going to be any good, we can't stand it. We can't afford to allow him to just keep getting away with that nonsense that's going on. And that's what he's been getting away with. Gary, let's call a spade a spade. He's been getting away.
Who's he?
One of our callers made a great point.
Wait. One thing at a time. Who's he? Who are you referring to when you say he? He's getting away. Who's getting away?
Manny.
You're talking about Manny, the Blake? Manny, okay.
Manny, Mickey Mouse Diaz. Because here's the thing. You've been around 6 years running this defense. All I keep hearing is that we can't get linebackers. We can't get this one. We can't get that one. Nonsense. We're watching programs all across the country develop. Defensively. Manny, your time is running out. It's running out, Gary, and I need it to go. I don't care what he does as far as the ACC. We've seen enough. He's a joke. He cannot lead men. Let's get him out of his misery now. He's like a scared puppy the other day getting on that podium. Did you see his face? We're right now we are rooting for a team that's not being run by the proper person. He's just not qualified. You've said it. Now you want to back him up by saying
I'm not backing anybody up. I didn't think Manny should have got the job from the day he got it, but I haven't blamed him for it. I mean, he was well within his wheelhouse to want it. But I never felt that Manny should have had this job. There was no way he should have had this job.
Let me give you credit for something. You don't look for this type of stuff. You could care less. But the fact that you've been saying he should never have been hired, and a proper search was never put on, and you kind of like broke it down and explained, a lot of people have stolen or ran with that moving forward. It seemed like that's something that somebody just came up with. You've been saying that for a long time. Now people are starting to use that, message or whatever you want to say. I give you so much credit for that. But that doesn't change anything, Gary. He's unfit, so sometimes you got to hit certain people some way. So let's start with him, and then let's see what happened to Blake. Because you said it yourself, they're not going to get rid of Blake right now, so you got to force him to get rid of him. So you know what I mean? Get Blake to get rid of Manny. But I also think Manny's going to end up getting rid of himself. Because while I would love to win 8 straight, that's now how I see it, Gary. You know I'm a passionate, diehard fan. Kane, all our guys decided come on, man. This is Gary, we are rooting for a team that's going down, 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 down. That he's responsible for. Let's change this man. Let's relieve him of his duties.
Russ, don't you want to see how these next few weeks go?
No, I could care less. I really don't think he's fit because he's already shown me 6 years of unfitness. So why do I feel like it's going to change? I don't want to go through another year of what happened that year when we had number 9 at our quarterback, the baseball player, where we kind of barely get past the game. We got lucky, and then we got to the championship and got blown out of the water. So this year looks like it's going to be like Wake Forest or maybe whoever else in that championship game. It'll be embarrassed. We're going to get embarrassed the same way because right now we don't look prepared. Do he have the balls? Does he have the balls to go back to his regular guys Thursday? Does he have the balls to do that? He'll be making a big mistake.
The veterans as opposed to the young players? Of course he does.
Yes.
And any coach would.
If he does that, I hope he plays with fire. And I know it's an unpopular statement, and you could bring it up for me. I don't care. I hope he gets burned.
Well, here's what I'm going to tell you, Ross. I think, and Manny did discuss this. I don't know if you heard the beginning of the show, but I think they're case-by-case situations. I really do, and I think that's fair. And here's why. James Williams is closer to being ready to play and take on a heavier load than, say, Leonard Taylor is. And, I think out here we sit here and we say, well, they're both 5-star recruits. They both should be playing. And I'll tell you what, I might have fallen into that camp a little bit too. Until we sat down with Leonard Taylor and discussed it with him. And I don't know if you heard the beginning of the show. I played his remarks, and I don't know if you read his blog today, but he admits himself he has no clue what he's doing on the field. And I think that applies to a lot of young players, Ross, and some pick it up quicker than others. I think some positions are easier to learn than others, and they're really case-by-case situations. And I think people are trying to make blanket statements on it. And I'm not sure that you can do that. I mean, you can do it, but I don't know that that's really fair. I mean,
you're confident. You're confident if this young man would have went somewhere else like Tennessee, he'll still have problems figuring out how to get on the field at this point. You really believe that?
I don't think it has anything to do with where he's at school.
Yes, it does, because we're watching other guys. So he's the. I hate to say this. I don't mean no disrespect when I say this. I'm just trying to make a point. So he's the dumbest of all the 5-stars that's out there.
It doesn't mean he's dumb. That's not fair.
I know that.
Okay?
I'm not calling him dumb.
Dumb is not a fair word. I mean, obviously certain kids.
I'm not calling him that.
You can't.
I'm not calling him that, but I love the kid. What I'm saying. So he's the only one that can't pick it up in the nation out of all that top 5 at his position.
Well, I mean, and listen here, let me ask you a question. First of all, not too many defensive linemen do it as true freshmen. That's number one. But number two, let's take Elijah Roberts for an example. Would you agree with me that Elijah Roberts has looked pretty good when he's been on the field this year?
Yeah, but okay, go ahead. I'm going to
wait. One thing at a time, Ross. Ross, just answer that question. Do you agree that he's looked pretty good? Decent, right?
Decent. Yes.
Okay, a year ago he probably wouldn't have looked that good, but now he knows what he's doing better, and he's.
I agree.
He's developed physically, and now, Leonard Taylor's a little further along physically, but he doesn't have a clue what he's doing on the field. And if he's supposed to be...
Was Elijah a 5-star?
No, I believe he's 4-star.
Okay.
But Elijah's a good player.
He is a good player. Let me ask you
if
this.
Elijah keeps developing, him and Leonard Taylor are going to be a good tandem at defensive tackle.
I hear that, and I hope somebody else is coaching him. But here's the thing. Your argument is strong, but here's one I would prefer to use. Who in front, line him up in his position. I can't remember the number he was ranked right now as the D lineman, at his position. But who in front and who's behind him, number-wise, who's playing and who's not. That's a better argument than using Elijah, because you know what it tells me about Elijah? That means they weren't good. They weren't coaching him up the year before either. So it took him longer to develop. I'm putting it on them. So let's see the guys that was in his class. Taylor, the guys that was in his class, are they playing already? The ones that was in front of him and behind him. How many guys behind him is already playing? And we don't have them type of dominant defensive linemen for this guy to be sitting so long. It's not like we have world beaters out there.
That would take some research, Ross, but I would be willing to bet without even having the data yet that if you took, say, the top 10 defensive tackles in the current recruiting class for this cycle, that the majority of them, if not all of them, are not starting at whatever college they chose to go to.
And you're using, I love that. You're going to win that one because you know the operative word you're using? Starting. I'm not asking for this kid to start. I'm asking him to play to this point. Now, if we reverse what you just said and go back into that same conversation and that question, and I reword it a little differently, and I say now how many guys that was in front of him or behind him, way behind him, are they playing? Then that's the difference. Are they playing? Not necessarily starting.
All right, but here's the thing, Ross. They like say Leonard. Since we're talking about Leonard, I think he had 35 snaps last week. They were able to put him out there last week because they had a very simple defensive game plan. They simplified it on purpose, knowing that they were going to play all the freshmen, and they felt comfortable putting him out there against that team. But that doesn't mean they're going to give him 35 snaps against Virginia this week. It doesn't mean they're going to give him 35 against North Carolina. He's self-admitting he's not ready for that.
Because I think he's pushed into that. Listen to this. I think they probably won't play him for the rest of the year because this is the type of people we're dealing with. This is what we're dealing with as fans. We're dealing with these coaches. The only person I want to see kept, and he might go, but because of just how it works out, the only person I want to see kept, period, on that defense is T-Rob and Van Dyke. Everybody else needs to hit the door. Hit the door.
All right, Ross, what else you got, man? What else you got? Anything else?
One more thing on the same subject. You're saying that you're thinking that, okay, well, he's admitting that he can't get on the field, right? But again, here's the argument again, Gary. Playing time and properly being molded and developed, I need that research, Gary. Please do it for me and come back next week and give it to me. Or somebody that's on the line now, can we look that up real fast? Somebody's a little better than me looking up because I'm good at looking up, but maybe they're better than me. I'm gonna put myself on hold right now so you can speak to everybody else, but I guarantee I'm going to win that, Gary. I bet you won't bet me lunch or the ranch. Have a good one. Put me on hold.
All right, Ross. Thanks for being part of the show, man. Love your calls every week. 563-999-3550, 563-999-3550. You hit the 1 on your keypad if you want to come on the show. I don't think I'm going to owe him lunch. I'll tell you that because I know how hard it is. Those top 10 defensive tackles that are true freshmen right now, they're all at pretty good programs and programs with a lot better talent than even Miami has. And guys that are better than John Ford and Jordan Miller and Nesta Silvera in front of them. And it's hard, man. It's hard for a true freshman. They got to be physically ready. They got to be mentally ready. They got to have if you're a big and you're good in high school, you're just pushing guys around. I mean, it's easy for you. When you get to college, you ain't pushing them around anymore. And you better have good technique. You better know what gaps to hit on what play calls and things like that and what your responsibilities are. And if you don't have it all down and now you're a liability to the defense, then I don't know, man. I can't, it's like I understand that everyone's out for blood, but this is one where I understand the dilemma of the coach and I was happy to see Leonard Taylor come out and set the record straight on this because it's hard, and this is a kid that everyone expected to walk in and play, and that's what he's hearing everywhere he goes. Like, hey, man, why aren't they playing you? Hey, why aren't they playing you? You're a 5-star recruit. You're better than those guys that are playing. And it's a tough dynamic, but I was happy that he set the record straight. I thought it was good for everybody involved. All right, let's go to the 917. You're live on CaneSport Live.
Hey, Gary, what's up, BK? Okay.
What's up, BK? How you doing this week, man?
I'm doing all right. Listen, quick question. With the statement that Herbstreit made at ESPN, do you think that it changed the temperature of the room? Not the coaching staff or anything like that, but like people who are, like the administration, like did that
felt
a little bit?
I mean, listen, nobody likes to be called out on national TV like that, but I felt like that was already taking place. I mean, from what I understand, that there have been very high level conversations with Julio Frank through the months, that he has a much greater understanding of athletics and football than he had when he came into this job. I think that the Board of Trustees has a new hierarchy at the top who is going to have to probably be cultivated a little bit and be brought up to speed on it. But from what I've seen and heard, she seems like a absolutely amazing woman who has had great success in business and things like that. And I can't imagine that it's going to be hard to convince her how important athletics and football is at the University of Miami when push comes to shove. I'm sure by now that David Epstein, the liaison from the Board of Trustees to athletics, has figured out that he let everybody down the last time around when there were these issues with football and a coaching change was being transacted and he was nowhere to be found, and he wasn't there to be a checks and balance for Blake, who was committing athletic director malpractice and not doing a coaching search and just handing the job to a coach who had never won anything in his career, had never really recruited anybody high profile, had absolutely zero credentials. And I like Manny. I'm not knocking Manny. Manny did great to get Temple to give him his job and give him a chance to go develop as a head coach. But, like, there's no way, shape, or form that Manny should have been handed the University of Miami head football coaching job, and that we're sitting here in year 3 having all these discussions that we're having. I think you guys know, because you listen to the show every week and you're on our message boards and all that, and we've discussed this over and over. It's not a surprise at all to me. So, like, this is exactly the way I expected it to be. So, like, look, I think David Epstein knows that he made a mistake the last time around, and I'm guessing that you're going to see him function differently if it comes to the point where they have to do it again. So I think these people are I think it's all already in motion. I think these people already know, where they've, erred in the past and stuff like that. I don't think they needed ESPN Game Day to undress them like that. I don't think it was a game changer or anything. I think it was noise, and I think it's none of it's good for the University of Miami.
Yeah. Well, basically, like, one thing that just thinking about it over the past, week or so, that just didn't sit well with me in regards to how the football program was mishandled. Right? Did the Board of Trustees forget that it was the football program that pretty much built some of those nice buildings that are on the campus? That business school, the rehab to the medical school or the medical center or whatever. Did they forget that?
You know what, BK?
Not realizing that you is a internationally recognized brand. And I think
you know what, BK?
Right.
I don't know that that's true, man. I don't know that is true. Like, I don't know that the football program built the business school. I mean, the University of Miami has been, through the years, BK, one second. Let me just tell you this. This is a good point. Through the years, the University of Miami has been hard-pressed to get the athletic department to be able to balance its ledger. The athletic department hasn't built buildings on campus. The athletic department has had to get to the point where it could pay its own bills and run the program at a high level. And it's been able to do that up until the COVID year. So, like, I don't know that that's like the athletic program and the football program didn't build the hospital, the University of Miami Hospital or anything like that. It didn't build the business school. It didn't build the dorms on campus. I mean, it didn't build the student union, which is beautiful now. I mean, all that money was raised independently, having nothing to do with football. And maybe that's, if you want to talk about a problem, until Carol Sofer stepped up and put $14 million plus with her family to make the seed donation for the indoor practice facility, there was nobody putting up enough money for athletics to build its own buildings, much less anybody else's buildings.
And that's really disheartening because just based off what you said, just so I have a better understanding, you mean to tell me all those years where the University of Miami was on top, all those years where, we were winning national championships, us winning those national championships resulted in money being funneled into the school. Let me tell you what in that regard what it did was it did result, BK, in more students applying to school, and obviously that has residual revenue effects. More students apply, the more students that get in, the more money the school makes. Like right now, I think the University of Miami is doing very well financially. They've been getting a lot of applications, in recent years, and the student body's up and things like that. But all those buildings that you're talking about was really money that Donna Shalala raised. She raised billions of dollars. I mean, everybody hates her, I know, because she didn't do it for athletics, but she raised billions of dollars for the university and made an enormous impact on the construction of buildings, the purchase of the hospital, and things like that. It had nothing to do with football. That hurts to hear, Gary. Believe it or not, that hurts to hear because I know, but I'm just giving it to you straight. That's the truth. Yeah. No. I mean, I totally get it. I understand, but that really hurts to hear because if we would have had someone running the athletic department with the wherewithal to realize the same thing what Howard Schnellenberger realized, that you is the University of Miami. They even took it on as the school's logo, so to say, not just the football program's logo. That's marketable. And you mean to tell me that there was nobody that could have marketed what that is, that in turn resulted into bringing more income into the school? Now, granted, Alabama's Alabama. Clemson is Clemson. And I'm not being a homer, Gary. I traveled the world, and I've seen this University of Miami logo in some of those strangest places you could imagine, because it's marketable. And I feel that just based off of what you're just telling me right now, what you just told me, that nobody really, took the opportunity to take it to the next level. That would have resulted in income, more income for not just for the program, not just for the football program, but for the other athletic programs, so to say, and maybe to some degree to the school, like other colleges are doing. But like what we've been talking about, this whole thing has been pretty much mismanaged. And now I'm seeing it. This is the first time I'm actually seeing it. I'm understanding. Like everything you've been saying all these years, I just didn't understand it. But now I understand it. Like it's really been mismanaged for such an iconic brand to just be, like this stuff's sufficient. That's enough for me. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And that's the truth, man. I mean, that's the absolute truth. Yeah, it is what it is. It is what it is. But, Gary, listen, thanks a lot. Keep me on hold. All right, BK, thanks for being part of the show as always, man. All right, 563-999-3550, 563-999-3550. You hit the 1 on your keypad if you want to come on the show. Let's move on now to the 706. You're live on CaneSport Live.
Hey, Gary, Sebastian.
What's up, Sebastian? How you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good. What's the date, Gary?
September 29th, right? 28th, 29th?
Nope.
28th.
The date that me and you have, November 6th, Georgia Tech. First call.
Yeah, that's right. What did you say about that? Remind me.
I said that's the day that we're going to let go of Manny Diaz. I think Georgia
Oh, okay,
Tech
that's right. You did. That's right. You did say that.
Said Georgia Tech, and we're going to really, really get a chance to see. We won't have no excuses. We won't have nothing else to say. We won't have no more dialogue about this and that. ACC Coastal is going to be way out of reach. And then we'll be talking about where we go from here. Now, I'm not the kind of person that's just going to preach doom and gloom. I just want my first caller spot on November 6th.
You may have to message me in advance, because I'll tell you right now, if you think you're beating, everything, well, we haven't even heard from Greg tonight, but if you think you're beating everything and Mike Stern, these guys, to that first slot, I mean, like they got the dang number on speed dial, trust me. And the minute that system opens up 15 minutes before the show, I'm telling you right now, they are hitting it. So if you can get on your own to be the first caller, man, I'll salute you.
Hey, well, you know what? I'm gonna do my best to try, but I just want you to remember the date, Georgia Tech. I'm just telling you, just remember the date, Tech, and you just know that, man, he called it, he predicted it. But this is what I want to talk about tonight. What I want to talk about tonight is that coaching matters. When I say coaching matters, I mean because wherever we go from here, we have to realize that it all comes down to the head coach. The head coach is a difference maker. It's the person that sets the vision for the program, that really, really kind of gets people to kind of buy in on where you want to take them. One of the things about being a great leader with a vision is you have to know, not that you have to have been there before, but you know how to get there. You know what there looks like. And I just don't know we have it with this coach. I'll give you a primary example. When Butch came to Miami, we would agree, in a much more weaker position than Manny Diaz came. With probation, the loss of scholarships, had to win with walk-ons and so forth. And I remember we had a classic game where we had to play Ohio State. I don't know if you remember that game, the first game of the season. We were breaking in a brand-new quarterback. We didn't have a good season the year before when Kenny Kelly was starting, and we won that game. We weren't favored in that game. We won that game. And we ended up having a pretty decent season. I bring that up because all I'm asking is, if Manny's going to turn it around, he has to know he has to win a game that he's not favored to win a game. What all comes down to coaching, X's and O's, game planning, scheming, adjustments, and all that stuff. And we could look at his record, and you tell me, what game has he won that he wasn't supposed to win?
He hasn't won one yet. He hasn't. He's lost pretty much almost every game against quality competition, with the exception of a couple of the close games in the middle of last year against probably even competition. I mean, they did win the close games last year. De'Ara King played the most amazing game of his life at NC State. They pulled that one out. They pulled out the Virginia Tech game. Even the Virginia game was probably closer than the final score indicated. They pulled that one out. And there was one more close game. Might have been Pittsburgh. The record last year was 8-3, but that was about as favorable as you were going to get based on the way the team played. So, but in terms of beating a better team, they haven't come close.
And so, because at the end of the day, we're going to say, and I'm not wishing for him to get fired. I'm just saying, November 6th. We're going to say what happened and why didn't he get it over? Because results matter. Results absolutely matter. And when we put a team on the field and we're talking about we're not even competitive, that to me is a direct reflection of the coach. I mean, sometimes you go into a game where you know you're going to be outmatched. I remember when Miami was playing Florida State, when we know they were a top 3 program or whatnot, and we were losing 31-21. Jumped on them 21-7. In Tallahassee. It's the way you motivate your team to get ready to play and how they really show up on the field. I'm watching old clips of Oregon this past week or whatnot, and there's no doubt in my mind that they know who's running the show at Oregon.
There's no doubt.
None whatsoever. None whatsoever. And when we say he's running, I mean the guy that's projected to be the number one pick, the defensive end, 5-star, recruited by everybody. He beat Alabama for that guy.
Mm-hmm.
Kayvon Thibodeau, you remember him?
Mm-hmm. Yep. They need him back too.
He beat Alabama.
I know.
He beat him for it. So before I leave, I just want you to know this is what I need your help with. We know what we know. When this season going forward or whatnot, what are some things, if you could recommend to the coaches that they could do differently to give them a chance? Because at the end of the day, he's going to get a contract extension. He takes us to ACC Coastal Championship, no doubt in my mind. We'll probably have a decent recruiting class. He's going to get a contract extension. But what are some things, 3, 4, 5 things you could recommend to the coaches that they can do right now as we go into ACC play that can make a big difference? I'll give you 2. Number 1, I don't see why Gervin Hall needs to be back at safety. I just don't know. I'll just take my chances with Williams.
Well, but here's the thing. But here's the thing. Is James Williams ready to hold up for 60, 70 plays? I don't know about that one. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and the only ones that really know that are the coaches that are out there on the practice field with it. Like, the fans don't know that. Like even like those of us that are close to it. Like, I'm not out there with James Williams every single play. Knowing whether he's doing the right thing and getting himself to the right spot and executing the defensive play call the right way. We just expect the coaches to just throw him out there and put Gervin Hall on the bench. I don't think that's going to happen. I really don't. I think everyone's going to be disappointed if that's what they're looking for.
Maybe you don't put him on the bench, but I sure would be starting him. I sure would be increasing his snaps. I sure would be coaching him on the sideline when I bring him on the side or whatnot. I'm just saying he's a difference maker.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying he's a difference maker. I can't remember the last time Gervin Hall has made a play on the ball. Come down with an interception, had a big deflection. I'm just saying, Gary, we've been at this for 3 years, But, you could just put me on hold. Just don't forget my date, November 6th. What are 3 things they can do that gives them the best shot to get through the season, to make it to win the Coastal? Because it's wide open. North Carolina has to beat us, and we have to lose twice.
That's a darn good question, man. I'll have to think about that one because I don't think it's as simple as putting James Williams out there for Gervin Hall. I don't think it's that. I don't think it's as simple as that. I'll have to come up with 3.
I'll give you one other example. If we're going to play Tyler Van Dyke and Jake Garcia, I don't know if we can ever put them underneath center, but I would just do that just to change up the scheme because I can tell you right now, I cringe every time it's a 3rd and 2 or a 3rd and 1 and we try to run it up the middle. We have to know it's just not going to work. It's just not going to work. We don't need to do it for the 48th time to figure out it ain't going to work. Try to draw them offside, try to get some motion, try to just kind of somewhat be creative. That's I've given you 2. I can tell you that would start. Number 3, I think we need to start Chance Williams over the linebacker that we got.
Yeah, Chance has been looking. He's been looking like he's coming pretty quick.
Been looking pretty. Yeah. I'm just saying, just a couple of things we can do. You can't tell me we're gonna lose the season because we started Chance Williams over the linebacker McCord. Chance has been making plays.
Yes, he has.
So I'm just saying, just a few little things we can do differently that I think will just kind of hopefully just kind of yield some results. Because here's the reality: there's no team in the ACC right now that we just absolutely cannot beat. Clemson has shown us already. They've lost 2 games this year.
Mm-hmm.
We can end up winning the ACC, but we can't do that if we don't make changes. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I'll agree. All right, Sebastian.
All right.
You got it, man. Thanks for being part of the show. 563-999-3550, 563-999-3550. Hit the 1 on your keypad if you want to come on the show. 3 things that Manny Diaz can do to turn the season around. So Sebastian says James Williams, put him in at safety, get Gervin Hall to the bench, get Chance Williams more reps at defensive end, and in lieu of Zach McLeod and Jafari Harvey and those guys. Okay, I could buy that. He's looked pretty good. What would number 3 be? We'll have to keep working on that one. Let's go to the 850. You're live on CaneSport Live.
Hey, how's it going, Gary?
Doing good. How you doing tonight? Who's this?
This is Travis up in Tally.
What's up, Trav?
Another night. I don't know if Steve's still on the line, but let me beat that drum for you, my friend, dude, because the number one problem, the number one cancer, the number one thing that has to go in this organization is Blake James. I don't care about Manny Diaz being fired, because if Manny Diaz is fired by Blake James, then that means Blake James gets to choose the next coach. He's had 3 opportunities to do it. Al Golden, laughingstock. Mark Richt on the way out the door. Now we got Manny Diaz. Do you really want him making a 4th coaching call? So, yes, this is the number one thing. It doesn't matter about Manny Diaz being fired on November 6th. Who gives a crap? Because no one's going to pick up the phone that's worth a crap to listen to Blake James, dude. He's a laughingstock. He's a joke. He needs to go. I don't care that he got the athletic department to be self-sufficient. Great. That's your job. And if you don't think that we can do better than that, then, I mean, what are we shooting for here? Mediocrity? Oh, let's make a profit then. You know what I mean? Okay, that's just point number one. Can I ask you a question? How many years has he been there?
Blake,
as our AD?
I think he's going on 10 now.
10 years. Okay, so we have 3 major athletics that we have. I mean, women's volleyball, golf, all that kind of stuff is great. But let's talk about baseball, basketball, and football. To my understanding, in the 10 tries for all 3 sports, that's 30 tries, we have gotten 1 ACC championship through basketball. That's my understanding. So if your record is 1 for 30, you need to be fired immediately. Like, I mean, you don't get promoted. You don't get to live your little dream of I get to be the AD at the University of Miami for as long as I goddamn want. Sorry for cussing. Like, get out, dude. You're done. Stick a fork in it. Okay. I need clarification on this. I don't know if you can actually give it. Last week you were saying that Manny Diaz's contract is not dollar for dollar. It's not like his buyout wouldn't be $8 million for the final 2 years. But I keep seeing this everywhere, like on all kinds of stuff, that it is an $8 million buyout. Can you confirm either way?
I can't confirm at this point, but I will try to get a confirmation on that if I can. It never works that way. The buyouts always slide with each passing year. If I were going to guess what it is, I would be guessing in the 4 range at this point.
So like $2 million a year, half his contract.
Yeah, that's what
okay. That would make sense. My point was going to be if it's a dollar for dollar contract, Blake James needs to be fired once again, because you can't give a first-time coach that's not proven anything a guaranteed contract. Let's be real here. So, like, man, to me, this whole program hinges on whether he keeps his job or not. And that's my only point of the night, man. I don't recruiting's dead. Let's actually have one more point. A head coach, when he gets hired, no matter who the head coach is at whatever place he's at, examples all over the board. If you're not taking off by year 3, if every year is not a steady progression, and there's already questions about a hot seat, your job, you're being called out on ESPN, the fan base is already turning on you. I mean, and we're not talking about people like me that were calling for his job the moment that he was hired. We're talking about the people that called people like me trolls the whole time, are finally like, Manny Diaz needs to be fired. You know what I mean? So, like, there's no coming back from this. So the writing's on the wall. The recruiting's dead. You can already guarantee that we're moving on at some point here when they get their head out of their ass to plan B and plan C and then transfer portal kids. And that's not how you build a program. We've watched 15 years of that go down, and you can't get anywhere with it. You know what I mean? So, like, that's my final point. Thank you for having me on. Fire Blake James.
All right, man. Thank you for being part of the show. Let's go to the 727. You're live on CaneSport Live.
Hey, Gary, it's Jake from St. Pete. How you doing today?
What's up, Jake? How you doing this week?
Doing good. I'm at a loss for words with all these people who want us to lose. It blows my mind. The whole ACC. We finally got a window where Clemson's down. Like what? You know what? Hey, they lose 2 out of the next 3. Goodbye. See you later, Manny. Good riddance. But this season is not at a loss yet. And look, is it game by game? Is it day by day? 100%. This team doesn't deserve the benefit of the doubt, or say it. No, they need to show up week in and week out, no doubt about it. But you summed it up pretty well. Like anyone can win the ACC right now. Why the hell would you not root for your team to win the ACC? Talk about, forget Blake James, forget Manny Diaz. What a catalyst that would be to turn some things around here. Tell people, hey, we're building something. Clemson has been a big old roadblock in that, and this year they're not. I mean, it's not to say that, there's just some pushover, but strike while the iron's hot here. Turn it around. Why not? I don't know. I just don't get it. That blows my mind. That we got an empty stadium and everything, and it's like, well, why is the athletic department going to put money into the athletic program? No one shows up. Everyone hates the team. They want to fire everyone, and it's like, oh, okay, well, yeah. And then you wonder why everyone hates. I don't know.
Yeah, I think everybody should just try to get some enjoyment out of the rest of the season. I really do. I mean, obviously, if they start losing, then obviously, there's going to be other issues.
I'll be the first one to call for his head. I'm going to be at that game on Thursday. I'm going to be
Thursday
like,
night, man. You got to be all in, and you got to beat.
Hell yeah.
You got to beat Virginia.
One game at a time. And if they keep putting them down, then keep going. Like what? We're 4 games into the season. We got 8 more to go. We're 0-0 in the ACC, and there's a lot of teams in the ACC who have racked up conference losses who we thought were going to be a big problem. So you know what? Let's see how it shakes out. Again, if they lose 2 out of the next 3, fine. Call for his head. Get rid of him. Get rid of Blake. I don't care. But it's like, root for your damn team. Enough about being right. Just let's win. You want to talk about the best way to turn the program around? Win. It is the only thing. These kids want to play for winners, so win. Moving on from that, that's just this. It frustrates me. I mean, look, if we're 8 games into the season and we're 4-4, yeah, I'll be apoplectic if we don't have a new head coach or Manny, his ass isn't on fire. But 4 games into it, let's see how it plays out. So I take it you did an interview with Leonard Taylor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we sit down with him and we work on the blog together with him.
Yeah, I love those blogs. They're great.
Yep.
I do enjoy those. It's just good to get some insight and all that. But that being said, do you think that was BS, or do you think he?
No, absolutely
he
not.
meant what he said.
100% he meant what he said. That there was zero BS. 100%.
See, that to me, again, I'm not a Manny apologist, and if he doesn't produce the results, I'd like for him to be gone just as much as anyone else. What I do wonder, just an observation here, but it seems like there are younger guys who are legitimately building. They're legitimately, look, Romello Brinson, Keyshawn Smith, Xavier Restrepo. We could go through the names, but these guys from the last 2 or 3 recruiting classes seem to be coming on strong. The 2017 and 2018 guys seem just dead in the water, like they're just showing up for their job. And that, to me, is the biggest reason why I don't want to just toss this season away, because it's like maybe you build some momentum with those younger guys. Those guys seem to be like that. I was half suspect when I read that article about Leonard Taylor, just because all the BS. I figured a lot of that might have just been sour grapes. After I was at the Michigan State game, I was beside myself. Last week I got cut off. I was fuming mad about that Michigan State game because they just quit in that fourth quarter. But at the end of the day, seeing a kid recognize that is not normal for the Miami type player or profile of the last decade or so. You know, that didn't have the entitlement. That was a kid saying, hey, I need to get better. I'm going to work hard. I'm not thrilled about not being where I want to be, but I'm going to work at it. That's a good attitude. And, like, I can feel good about that. I can feel good about it.
He's a nice kid. He's a very nice kid, Leonard Taylor.
Yeah, and I mean, that's something I can root for, even if the results aren't there, because that's a kid who I think, if he continues with that attitude, will be a stud for our program. And, you know, if that attitude prevails, he becomes a leader. That's something you can build on. And so that's very refreshing to hear that he's genuine with that. One other question I have, and I mean, this is just a purely hypothetical, but, you know, I love having Alabama on the schedule. I think it's great. I prefer that we play that type of game every single year. I like the way some of these the schedule's shaping up over the next couple of years. One thing I absolutely hate, though, is playing these games the first game of the season. Central Connecticut, I wasn't at the game last week. I had a 20th high school reunion, couldn't make it. I don't know if I would have gone either way, but those games, I know you knock them, but I think they are kind of important. I don't think that we need to go as bad as Central Connecticut State. That was pretty. Yeah, that
was a little bad. It's like you can make the argument. It gives you a chance to play your younger players and develop your younger players. I mean, I'm not sure that they really got better going against that team in that circumstance. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they did, but
here's my thing though. In anything you do in life, doing something right matters, and practicing, doing something right matters. Now, hypothetically, you do that in practice for sure. But I mean, college football doesn't have a preseason. There's a reason why there's a preseason in the NFL and in every other sports league. It's so that you can get a little live action against someone who isn't your own, and get a feel for what you got. My problem is when you schedule in Alabama and LSU and all that right to begin the season, if the result doesn't go your way and we don't have guys who are used to this big game action, it kind of sours the beginning of the season. And is our team national championship bound? No, hell no, not a chance. But were we maybe feeling bad for ourselves, or we maybe, if we start the season a little, I want Alabama on the schedule, 100%. But game 2 or 3, play a little bit of a powder puff. I would have preferred, flip App State and Alabama, a couple of years ago. Flip Central Michigan and LSU. Our team
but here's the thing, Jake. If you start doing that, aren't you just putting the final dagger in the program? I mean, it's like
no, I'm not saying get rid of those games. Most teams do it. Did Ohio State and Oregon play right off the gun? Hell no.
Most teams play their tough game in the first or second week. Everybody can't play week 2. There's TV slots and things like that. Listen, Miami will never be more relevant than it was week 1 this year. That's it. and you have to stay relevant.
But you're not relevant
you
if you
can't
get
make
blown
excuses
out of the
for the
water.
fact that the program isn't good enough. Like, I'm sorry, the program needs to be good enough. You need to be good enough to go play real games whenever they're on the schedule. I mean, it's like to sit here and say, oh geez, we made a mistake. We've made coaching hire mistakes, so our program is 50% of what it should be. We better I don't know what word you want to use.
What
Soften
I'm saying is
schedule.
We have young
can't
players.
think like that.
We have a lot of guys who they're not used to or not good at playing in those first games. So,
but why? Why, Jake?
little...
Because the program has been run so poorly. That's why. Not because Blake James is scheduling the games. The best thing that Blake James is doing as athletic director is he keeps getting Miami back to the national stage. I mean, he got the football team to Atlanta on that stage, and the Canes Nation showed up. I don't know if you were there.
Okay.
I mean,
all I'm saying, 100%. All I'm saying is like next two seasons we've got A&M. Love those games, but we're playing them the second game of the year. I just like it better.
Sometimes it works out that way. Sometimes it doesn't. It depends. Yeah. When you're taking the neutral site games, they're often week one.
Yeah, I know, and they like the money that comes with that and everything else. I
think they got $5 million to play that game. That helps the athletic department a lot.
Yeah, but when you get your ass beat.
Yeah, but you're not supposed to get your ass beat. That's my point. My point is, when Florida played Alabama, they didn't get their ass beat. You're not supposed to get your ass beat.
They played them week 3.
You're supposed to be good enough. They got to get good enough. Run the program.
First half.
Get
first
good
week
enough.
Against FAU. They were barely up against FAU at halftime, week 1. Do they play that game against Alabama and get their shit pushed in? There's a good chance. So
look.
You never want to play Alabama week 1. I don't know. That's
why Alabama had to play Miami week 1. They didn't bother them any. Run the program better, get good enough, and play anybody that they want to put on the schedule. Anything other than that, to me, Jake, because I've been here for 40 years and I've seen it all. Anything other than that, like, don't waste your damn time, man. Get good enough. Be willing to play anybody at any place at any time, and then go compete your ass off and represent yourself in the proper fashion that the University of Miami football program has a chance to do, unlike most teams in America. How many teams in America have a talent base like this to use as a foundation?
I don't know. I think so.
USC has it,
I think so.
But not many.
Highly overrated.
It's not overrated. It might be overrated, Jake, in terms of being the end-all, be-all. I'll agree with you on that. It's not overrated as a foundation. The problem is the foundation
we
is broken.
Wide receivers and cornerbacks and defense backs.
Right. And then you got to be able to go outside and get your linemen
from time to time, but
occasionally there's a Leonard Taylor, right? But you got to be able to go out and recruit, and you have to have the people in place that can do that.
If Mario's on the table, you got to go get him. I mean, that's now here's a hypothetical for you. End of the season. Let's say 8-4. Let's say we win the Coastal at 8-4. The ACC this year ain't very good. So, what is your take on? I mean, and it's probably way too early to even think of this, but to me, there's only I don't want to make change just to make change. You see what's going on at FSU, and how's that working out? To me, there's 5 guys in the nation who can turn this around, who are gettable or even remotely gettable. You're not going to get Dabo, you're not going to get Nick Saban, what have you. So take those guys off the table. You got maybe James Franklin, Dan Mullen, Mario, obviously, Lane Kiffin, maybe 1 or 2 other guys. Most of those guys have contracts, that are too big. So to me, Lane Kiffin and ironically Mario is probably one of the only gets who are even remotely financially feasible. So if we end up
and Lane Kiffin can't recruit like Mario can recruit.
No, he can't. But but he's a pretty damn good coach, and he's turned some things around.
He's a good coach, yes, but he can't recruit like Mario can recruit.
No, Mario is 1A, B, and C, no doubt about it. So, but let's say at the end of the season, 8-4, we're kind of at a crossroad. What's you like? Because to me, I don't want to see change if it's not going to be something significant. You know, I'd rather roll the dice, see what happens, or continue it out another year, give Manny an extension that has no guaranteed money or something like that. You know, I mean,
which can be done.
I saw somebody saying, "Let's get Jed Fish." Like, come on, you're overreacting.
Yeah, like that would be an absolute joke here. Yeah, right.
To me, yeah, it's like
Jed
okay,
Fish is.
then we're 5 years behind.
That'll work at Arizona, where they're trying to go from being the worst team in the Pac-12 to being like a middle of the pack.
The
Pac-12.
second worst team.
He's a very good coach. I mean, he's a very good offensive coach.
Yeah, but he's not going to turn the tide here.
Not going to turn the tide at Miami. Absolutely
if you're going to make the switch for a guy with a non-losing record, to me, it's got to be for a guy with a winning record. And really, again, there's one or two guys who you get like, James Franklin or Mario Cristobal to me are the only two. I don't know. That's it. I just this week. It's kind of nerve-wracking because it seems that not only is the season, but the program is riding this razor's edge where it's just a few things go right and it could start heading in the right direction, but anything goes wrong and it could fall off a cliff. And then we're another 3-4 years out. Even with Mario, we're still 2-3 years out. And it's just, I'd rather see things go right than go through this crap all again. And then, again, we're talking, maybe a 25% chance because there's no guarantee Mario's going to say, oh, no, I just went to the playoffs with Oregon, and, I'm going to jump ship here. So, it would be nice, but, that's not a guarantee. He's got a pretty nice situation going on, and,
that's a subject for down the road. That's I don't think.
Yeah, that's down the road. Anyway, I'll let you go, but let's see. It would be real nice to see a big statement game this week. Hold Virginia in check. Their past game's been on fire. It'd be nice to see it. Hold them 250, 300 yards. Keep them in check. Keep them out of the end zone. That would be nice. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see Thursday night. We'll find out.
All right, Jake. Thank you for being part of the show, man. Have a good one.
Appreciate it, Gary.
All right, 563-999-3550, 563-999-3550. You have heard me say this before. I'm going to say it again. Miami can be Miami. Miami does not have to be scared to schedule Alabama, LSU, Florida, Texas A&M, anybody. Miami needs to get good enough to play the games, period. Anything else is a bad excuse. And I cringe when I hear people say, "Oh my God, we're bringing this on ourselves. We're the schedule's too hard. Why are we playing Alabama? We have no right playing Alabama. Oh my God, we have no chance to beat Alabama." Baloney. Get good enough to compete with Alabama. End of story. All right, 563-999-3550. You hit the 1 on your keypad if you want to come on the show. And let's go now to the 386, where you are live on CaneSport Live, as long as you think that Miami should play Alabama.
Evening, Gary.
Who's this?
It's Will.
What's up, Will? You think the Canes should play Alabama, right? Should we be scared? Should the Canes be scared to schedule Alabama?
Hell no.
Thank you.
Hell no. But I need you to put my mind. I got a couple of things, and I'm going to touch on them real quick like I always do, let some other callers come on. But I need you to put my mind at ease. I've been hearing all these rumors. I need a yay or a nay. Do the school president at the University of Miami care about athletics? From what you've seen or know from his body of work, do he care about athletics?
No, deep down inside his veins, no. No, he doesn't. He only cares to the degree that he has to do his job. But that narrative that he lets Blake James call the shots and run athletics is 100% spot on. I mean, that was not unfair. That was not false. That's the God honest truth. I mean, he lets the athletic director be the athletic director, and it's up to the athletic director to do the job well. And if the athletic director's not doing the job well, then the athletic director's letting him down, because no, he doesn't sit there and worry about athletics every day. No chance.
Okay, my second question is, I think that you're trying to be optimistic about Manny, and I will admit, so am I. But the thing I want to say, Larry Coker, Randy Shannon, Al Golden, Mark Richt, all of these coaches got in trouble at Miami. None of them was able to turn it around. What has you optimistic that Manny can turn it around?
I'm not optimistic. I mean, I like Manny. I don't blame Manny. I'm not optimistic at all. Why would I be optimistic? I had this opinion the day the transaction got done. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I mean, I couldn't believe that. I mean, I've called it athletic director malpractice since day one. It's like, listen, I like Blake James a lot. He's a nice dude, man. I can't believe that that's what he did with a blank slate for Miami Hurricanes football after everything that they went through in 2016 when they made the declaration to the fan base that they were all in on football and that they were going to spend whatever money they needed to spend to have the program. And they went and they paid Mark Richt $4 million a year, which was more than they'd ever paid a head coach. And they said, we are serious about football now. And then 3 years later, they took it all back to square one by hiring a coach that had never been a head coach before, that had no track record, had never recruited anybody, had never won anything in his career, had gotten fired from the best job he ever had. How do you make that candidate, whether it's Manny Diaz or Joe Smith? Has nothing to no problem with Manny. Manny's he's trying his ass off, Manny. But how do you do that with no coaching search, without taking 5 minutes to see who your candidates are? So no, I said that 3 years ago, and I don't feel the least bit different about it 3 years later now, or 2.5 years later, or whatever the hell it is. I guess it's 3 if you go back to the date of the transaction. It's pretty much 3. But no, I don't feel any different. It was insane what Blake James did. The question now is if he has to get himself out of it, what's going to be, and that will be determined in the next 4 or 5 weeks by how these games go. And if Manny wins them, or wins 4 out of 5 or whatever, then he's going to get a chance to go to year 4. And if it's going to get very loud and noisy on CaneSport Live and everywhere else.
Well, I tell you, this is the last point I'm gonna make, and I'm gonna hang up. This is what drives me up the wall about Manny. He's constantly beating the drums about recruiting. This is what it's gonna take. But you look at Miami roster. Let me make my point. It's only gonna take about 30 seconds. You look at Miami roster. 70% of those guys that are on scholarship, could have gone anywhere that they chose to go. Anywhere that they chose to go. He brought in, I'm going to name 2 guys on offense, 2 guys on defense. Gervin Hall, Nestor Severo, Navon Donaldson, Jeremiah Payton, who's no longer even in the program. These guys are game changers. These are the type of guys that you build programs through. I don't know if it's true or not, but I heard a rumor that Nick Saban, he landed a helicopter at Gervin Hall School. You look at Iowa State, BYU, Kentucky, Arkansas, Ole Miss. These teams, those 5 programs are winning. There is no way that they have more talent than Miami, but these programs are constantly winning. There's no way they have more talent than Miami. Manny Diaz has been involved with Miami program for 6 years. I'm not talking about anything that anybody was preseason favorite, but that work their way onto the list by performing on the field. But when was the last time Miami had someone, a player, sitting at the ESPY Awards, a candidate, a Butkus candidate, a Lombardi candidate, a Bilimnikov Award candidate? Manny Diaz's problem is he is not developing guys, and he cannot get guys to play at a high level. Those schools I just named, they are doing it with way younger, less talent than Miami. Miami has the talent to win. They have the talent to win right now. These guys are not being developed. They are not playing at a high level. There is no way Virginia, North Carolina State, Pitt, there is no way those teams should have the same record Miami have in the ACC. Miami talent is head and shoulders above these teams. The guy can't get teams to play at a high level. He is not developing talent. It is no way. 70% of their roster that's on scholarship could have gone anywhere in the nation. He's been at Miami 6 years. I don't see it happening.
Will, where he is right, it is about recruiting. But if you look back, and we do this every summer, we go back and we break down the 5 recruiting classes that make up that year's team. Go take a look at our State of the Youth series and go look at those and look at what's happened to the last 5 recruiting classes. You can't overcome, it's like you can't recruit at that level, and you can't hang your hat on the last recruiting class and say we got some good players in the last class. We got James Williams, we got Leonard Taylor. It was a COVID year, and they did a great job of taking advantage of that. But now we're in a semi-COVID year where recruiting is back to normal and kids are taking visits and everything, and it looks like every top player from South Florida is leaving South Florida. I mean, how are you supposed to overcome that? Where you got this great recruiting base and every top player in that recruiting base is leaving the area and not coming to your school. You can't. It's like, and then so now you're recruiting from the next tier, and it's going to be hit or miss like it's been. And they've been blowing 50% of recruiting classes. Like you see Jeremiah Payton a couple of years ago was the receiver in the class. Wow, Jeremiah Payton's going to be really good. Can't wait to see him develop. I mean, he barely played it down at Miami. He's gone. You can go on and on. You can go on and on. Kirk Herbstreit in the transfer portal last week. I mean, it just never ends. It just keeps going on and on and on. And by the time you're done getting through all this attrition, you're on self-imposed probation because of all the mistakes you made.
But Gary, why aren't you recruiting 3-star guys and getting them to perform like 4 and 5-star? And I want to make my last point. I promise you I'm going to hang up. You remember Manny first year when we played Florida in Orlando, and our offensive line gave up. I made this point last week. Our offensive line gave up double-digit sacks in that game. His comment after the game was, this was his comment after the game, we have a young offensive line. One day those guys are going to be juniors and seniors, and we'll see what happens then. Well, you fast forward 2 years later, and offensive line is still a problem, and these guys are upperclassmen now.
Correct. Same guys. Zion is marginally better. He's better. But he's struggling for whatever reason so far this year. He didn't have a full training camp, and he's just having a hard time getting going. Nabon is only playing because Jalen Rivers got hurt. He was ready to be benched. They bounced DJ Scaife between right tackle. Now he's playing guard again. Jared Williams lost the right tackle job in training camp. Now he's starting to right guard. Corey Gaynor's hurt, but he was getting his ass kicked before that. I mean, yeah, you're absolutely right. Why have they not? You talk about recruiting. What was that? That was the start of 3 seasons ago. This is year 3. So
okay.
I mean, why have they been unable, other than Jalen Rivers, to recruit offensive linemen that are starting caliber and better than what they're playing with right now? Why have they been unable to recruit linebackers that are better than what they're playing with right now? I mean, you go down this roster. We think running back is so great, and I think it's going to get a lot better Thursday when Jalen Knighton comes back. But we think running back is so great. How much better was that kid, the Walker kid at Michigan State, how much better was Kenneth Walker, who transferred to Michigan State from Wake Forest? How much better was he than any running back on the Miami roster right now? And we think running back is one of our positions where we're pretty good. You know, we got Don Chaney. I know he's hurt now. We got Knighton. You got Cam Harris. You got Cody Brown. Thad Franklin flashed the other day in that game. But that kid for Michigan State that transferred from Wake Forest, I guarantee you would be far and away the best running back on the Miami roster. So if you go up and down this roster at almost every position, you're hoping James Williams becomes an elite player at safety, but Gervin Hall and Bubba Bolden are not elite. I mean, even Bubba Bolden, Bubba was horrible the second half of last year, and he hasn't looked markedly better in those games this year against real competition. Cornerbacks, I mean, Corey Couch is okay. He's okay. You know, Tyreek upgraded it, but you know, I don't know that, you know, that right now you would say Tyreek is an elite cornerback. He's trying to become one. We just talked about linebackers. You're no place at linebacker. Defensive tackle, I mean, so. We want Leonard Taylor to replace the 4 guys that are playing. He hasn't learned the plays yet, but that means the 4 guys that are playing are not world beaters. They're guys. They're trying hard. They're good kids. But my point is, this roster is no place, Will. It's no place.
Well, let me say this, and I'm hanging up. Last year during fall camp, we heard all these wonderful things about Bradley Jennings. This year, it was Michael Redding. Where is Michael Redding at?
He's been passed up by Romello Brinson, and I mean, you know, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, he looked okay in training camp, but Romello Brinson has looked better than okay. So Romello Brinson's kind of passed by him. So you got Keyshawn Smith is playing. You got Harley and Restrepo in the slot. I mean, there's only so many guys that can play at a time.
All right, Gary. We'll talk to you next week. Appreciate you taking my call.
All right, Will. Always a pleasure. 563-999-3550, 563-999-3550. Hit the 1 on your keypad if you want to come on the show. We're in hour number 3. Power through this thing. Try to get everybody on tonight. Let's go to 757. You're live on CaneSport Live.
Man, let me tell you something. This Kane. Shout out to Ross. Shout out to Meister Kane. Man, look, I'm sick of this stuff. Recruit. Manny. President, this, that. They ain't got no heart. Clemson and them, they did a good job. They played St. Thomas Aquinas or Kellum High School down here. Yeah, but they got heart. Yeah, and I get sick of you because you go back and back and forth. Man, just be real. Y'all always say talent. We need to recruit better, true. We done had people leave, true. People leaving why? We don't know. But we got talent on the team. Now, for the people that don't want us to win, forget the bullshit. I want to win. You can still fire man ass. Then on top of that, no, I don't want to hear it. You always got something to say. I've been liking the Canes just as long as you've been
there. The NFL scouts are yawning. They're yawning when they look. Like, I keep hearing, well, there's talent. Yeah, there's talent, but there's not elite talent.
Okay, no, I didn't say elite. I said there's talent. But like the man just said, we recruit just as good as anybody else in the ACC besides Clemson, sometimes Florida State. Everybody else is under us. Why they look much better than us? Virginia Tech defense always looks better than us. Virginia and them look better than us. Why? The answer is why. Hell, we might play Old Dominion and struggle. Why? Old Dominion got better talent than us? Nova State got better talent than us? I'm in the 757 area. That's what I'm dealing with. I don't believe it's BS. It's called heart. You give a person heart and they can do what they want. Like the young man just said, give me some 3 stars and build them up. I don't need a bunch of 5 stars. The NFL won't based on superstars. Tom Brady was what? 6th round pick, one. And you know what happens. He was a gifted player and came all the way up to the top and won a billion Super Bowl. I mean, they can do what they want with man. But you know what I really want? Here's what I want. I'm going to make this quick. Go ahead and give me Cristobal. Everybody been screaming for this month for years and years and years. 5-man, if you lose one of the next 2 games, call Cristobal, do cheating like everybody else. Hey, man, we want you to come to Miami. Just say you're coming. We'll give you all the money you want. You can recruit anybody you want. You can get your whole staff. If we don't win with Cristobal, everybody that wants can go to hell. Point blank period. I ain't got no more to say. I'm done. Let's beat Virginia, Carolina. As a matter of fact, you run out on the field with some boxing shorts on and take the ball when we win. I'm out of here. Peace.
All right, Kane. You want to know what the most disturbing thing I've heard lately was when we interviewed the coach for Central Connecticut State last week. And God bless him, man. He's candid as hell. But he said that when he was reviewing Miami's film from the first part of the season, that he noticed a marked difference in effort level from the Alabama game to the other games. And that he thought that top to bottom, everybody was not playing as hard as they were playing against Alabama. And, like, if that's really true, and I can only assume it is, I mean, he's a football coach, he's watching tape, and certainly the results would support him. I mean, that tells you have a culture problem. If the kids don't feel motivated and, for whatever reason, that you have a culture problem if that's the case. And that's certainly, I know Manny's got a long list, but I mean, that's something that if that's really accurate and the Miami coaches are seeing the same thing when they self-scout, that's a big problem because, you can't show up for one game a year just because it's an elite opponent. 563-999-3550. Hit 1 on your keypad if you want to come on the show. Let's go now to the 561. You are live on CaneSport Live. How you doing tonight?
Hey, what's up, Gary? Scooter, man.
What's up, Scooter? How you doing, man?
Man, I can't get through this show. I don't know. This show is, driving me crazy. The whole show, I think you got to get these people in check a little bit. Everybody's calling him Fire Manny. They don't have any points or anything. They just Fire Manny. There's a certain type of person, I guess, that populates that website that they want to fire the coach every 3 years. So, every 3 years what they want to do is they want to get a new coach.
Scooter, I don't think that's the case. So I don't think that's the case. I think you've got a lot of intelligent fans here, and I think if all you have to do Scooter, all you got to do is watch what's been going on the last 3 years. And
they're just saying fire Manny.
I mean, if Manny if Manny can't win this year, how many years are you going to go continue like this? I mean, I know I personally felt like, and I like Manny, and I thought when he got the Temple job, it was the greatest thing in the world for Manny. But getting the Miami job and having to come do this job is hard, man. Scooter,
so
this is not an easy job, dude.
I'll explain it to you. I don't, I'll just say my piece on it. So, okay, let's say you get one of these people on the line. Let's fire Manny. We're going to fire Manny right now. And then you go, okay, what if you fire Manny? Let's just think this through. I'll explain it like a child or whatever. You fire Manny.
No, I agree with you. I know where you're going.
You're going to call Mario Cristobal. We're going to get Mario Cristobal. Okay. You fire Manny right now, okay? We're right in the middle of we're going to start our ACC schedule, okay? It's like we're starting a race. And they're like, throw away the car. And what are we going to do? Oh, we're going to get a Ferrari. Mario Cristobal is not going to come and coach us versus Virginia.
Nope.
Okay? When you're negotiating a deal with Mario Cristobal, it's going to take a little time. You're going to have to put out feelers. You're going to have to see if he's even interested in the job. You're going to have to gather the money. He's going to have to assemble a staff. It's something that's done after the season.
Yeah, and what if he's not interested, Scooter? Scooter, what if he's not interested? What if you can't get him? Now what are you going to do?
That's what I'm saying. Well, what are they going to say? Oh, we'll get Nick Saban. We'll get whatever. These coaches are not coming, and even if they're coming, it's going to take a while to get a coach of that caliber to come here. He's not going to come mid-season. So let's just say Manny has a bad year. Okay, fine. Let him have his year. We fire him, and then we take the whole summer, the whole off season to get a real staff. Okay, that's just the first thing.
Well, you don't have that kind of time. Remember, you got a signing day the third week of December.
Well, who cares about it? I mean, if you get a good coach, it's going back to you just want to fire the coach every 3 years.
No, but my point is it's a little more complicated than what you're saying, but you're making great points in that you got to take a look at who you're going to be able to hire. You don't just fire Manny to hire Al Golden again.
Well, you don't just throw away the year to hire another idiot, and what they want to do is they just want to get a coach every
because every one of these, every mistake you make is a 5-year mistake. So it's like you can't just
fire Manny right now. Mario Cristobal is not going to come in the next game. Okay, You gotta take your time when you do these decisions. Put out feelers. All he has to do is call up Cristobal, whatever he needs to do, and say, hey, are you interested in the job? Yeah, and then you start the negotiations. You're not going to fire Manny right before you start ACC, your schedule. Okay, that's just the first thing. The second thing is that, I mean, goddamn, these people are not excited about the I know we played a bad team, but we got Leonard Taylor, 5-star Leonard Taylor, James Williams. These are going to be like centerpieces of our team. We've already talked about the players we have aren't all that. They're not going to win that much with like Bubba Bolden and who's the guy in the middle? Netsu Severa. We got to replace them with key players. So we got some good roots, some good foundations that are coming in. These three Amigo wide receivers, they're great, man. Even Derek King, it's a blessing in disguise. So we're going to get a nice young quarterback. They're going to grow with these three Amigo receivers. We got Leonard Taylor, James Williams. Dude, get excited about this year. The season's just starting. These people are haters, every single one of them. You got to calm them down. The one guy was a fucking coward. He didn't even want to play a good team. We're playing Alabama. I was getting excited. He's like, oh, no, we got to play, I don't know who he wants to play. Dude, they got a bunch of young kids. They have to flush out some of these Stanuts. Okay, Bubba Bolden, the safeties, Amari Carter, Gil Frierson. We got to wait a little bit of time, get them out of here, and we got to get this new crop in and see how good they do. Control these listeners, bro, because they're saying the same thing over and over. I can't even listen to the show. Well, fire Manny. Okay, but what are you gonna do when you fire Manny?
You better be along the road and an idea of who you're going to replace him with. I totally agree with you, because if you just fire Manny to hire anybody but Manny, that's a joke.
They want to hire somebody every 3 years.
Yeah, but you can't do. You're right. You can't do that at this point. If you're going to fire Manny, you better be firing him to hire somebody who's big time, or else don't waste your time.
But wait a minute. When you hire somebody that's big time, are you going to do that in like a week?
No, you got to do.
You got to be able to.
But you also can do it in 5 minutes, Scooter. You work. It's called back channel. Back channel communication.
If you're going to get like an Urban Meyer or somebody of that caliber, you got to really put something together, a big package together. And
But you're going to have to do that for anybody big time. You got to be prepared to do that before you even make a phone call. You think the University of Miami can call Mario Cristobal and not be ready to do whatever it takes? And I'm not talking about paying him $10 million a year. Like you can't even make the phone call. If the commitment's not in place, you can't make the phone call.
Yeah. The last thing I'm saying, anytime anybody says, "Oh, you know what? I was at the game and we were losing," I was on the side. I couldn't believe it. They were joking around. They were playing around, and I mean, like, the people who are judging how they're doing based off of like the physical appearance of the players and saying how they don't care. You don't know if a player cares or not. That's a very like. And then the other thing they'll say is like they got to start yelling at the players more. Like you got to start undressing and humiliating these players. It's like they're a bunch of idiots. I don't know. I can't listen to the show anymore. You got to control these people when they come in with the I want to fire Manny and they're Gervin Hall or whatever that is. You got to slow them down, dude. There's nobody else to back them up at this point.
But
we're starting ACC schedule.
So I have to slow them down if they don't agree with you? Come on, man. That's not fair. You got to respect other people's opinions too. Well, you're making great points. I agree. I agree a lot with what you're saying, but it doesn't mean any points that everybody else makes is wrong. I mean, come on, man. That's what that's everyone's entitled to their different opinions.
Okay. All right, man. Keep it up.
All right, man. Hey, thanks, Scooter. Talk to you next week, hopefully. Don't boycott us. Come on, man. I mean, like, people have different opinions, and so some people are right, some people are wrong, some people are partially right, but certainly are entitled to opinions. 563-999-3550. Hit the 1 on your keypad if you want to come on the show. But what Scooter says is true. You don't fire Manny Diaz without a plan to replace him, because you're at that point exposing yourself to just going around in circles, and that's what the University of Miami has been doing for 20 years, just going around in circles, and that is not working. Let's go to the 202. You're live on CaneSport Live.
Gary, oh my God.
thank you for letting me go after this clown you just got off the mic. First and foremost.
Wait, who's this?
This is Deuce from DC.
Hey, what's up, Deuce? What's up, my man?
This guy comes on here and sasses everybody's opinion, and he has the wildest opinion of us all. Gary, he's telling people to stop yelling fire. No one is saying you have to fire him today or tomorrow. We're saying that we're hoping you're going in that direction, right? You've been looking at a product on the field, his product for 3 years. It's not working. You can look at a coach in 3 years and tell if it's working or it's not. It's not working. He's changed so many different things about the staff, the program, and everything. It's not working. He does not know what he's doing. He's trying, but he does not know. It is not his fault to an extent.
It is not his fault.
What I do blame him for is getting up there and making excuses for the president and the board of trustees, because the fact of the matter is he is living proof that they are not serious about football because they employed him. Are you kidding me? They employed him. They are not serious. Okay, Gary, Manny Diaz has been at the University of Miami for 6 years. You know how many people he's got drafted that he's recruited?
I don't have the tally. I mean, I haven't figured out the number.
You want me to tell you?
It's not many.
Jonathan Garvin and Gregory Rousseau, out of all of the players that he has recruited since December of 2016, 2 of them have gotten drafted. 1 of them barely got drafted. That's an indictment on him as a defensive coach. Period. You've been here 6 years and 2 people have been drafted that you recruited? What is he recruiting? 10 to 15 kids a year? Over the last 6 years? Scooter's talking about, we got to wait for these guys to leave. No, we don't have to wait for these guys to leave. Gervin Hall has been making mistakes since 2019. 4th and 17, the touchdown against North Carolina on a corner post. Amari Carter has been missing tackles for 3 years. John Ford has been doing nothing for 3 years. Bradley Jennings has been blowing assignments for 3 years. Why are we waiting? The whole point of recruiting, Gary, is to recruit players that are better than the ones you have and play them. You don't get better by playing the worst people because they've been there the longest. Granted, Leonard Taylor's not ready to start. He is ready to take snaps. 96 and 91.
With the game on the line, wait, let me stop you, Deuce. With the game on the line,
okay.
He admits himself he has no clue what he's doing on the field yet.
Gary,
would you put him out there with the game on the line if you're the coach?
Gary, in the first quarter against Alabama, the game was over. Okay, the game was over.
Okay, but no, seriously, I'm serious with this question. You're not answering my question. He's a kid that is honest as hell who admits he doesn't have a clue what he's doing out there. If you're Jeff Simpson and you're Manny Diaz and half of South Florida wants to send you packing to Cancun, and your career and your job's on the line, are you going to put a kid out there on the field with a game imbalance who has no clue what he's doing?
Gary, I'm not saying that, but I'm going to find 10 snaps a game to put him in a game, Gary. That's all I'm saying. I'm not telling you to put him in on 3rd and 4th.
But you can't fight if the games are close. If the games are close and they're life and death battles into the 4th quarter, where's that opportunity?
Gary, why are we in a dogfight against Appalachian State? That's not Leonard Taylor's fault. That's Manny Diaz's fault, Gary. That has nothing to do with Leonard Taylor. That's not his fault. That's not his fault. Matter of fact, he could have got.
No, but what I'm saying is you can't. That doesn't mean he can put Leonard Taylor out there to save the day. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, all right. Let me move.
Hopefully a month from now he can. Hopefully a month from now.
That's very true. But that's very true, Gary. But he's a dead man walking. Everybody sees it. So no one's going to be quiet and root. Oh yeah. No, we're not saying we're rooting against them. To Scooter, we're not rooting against them. But we see everything. The University of Miami doesn't want to see it because they look at it like it's going to cost them money. But everybody else sees what we're seeing. Teams are laughing at us. No, people don't take us serious. We're 2 and 4, 2 and 5 in our last 6 games or so. Manny Diaz hasn't beaten anyone he was supposed to beat.
let alone anyone he wasn't supposed to be. We've never come out and looked good on offense and defense on the same game. We've never come out and played an excellent first quarter on both sides of the football. If we score 14 points, we've given up 17 points or 10 points. We always look like we had a lobotomy. Like we always look like we're brain dead. And then all of a sudden when we're down 21, then, now we want to start acting like we want to play. That's the markings of bad coaching. This man has changed every single coach on his staff, with the exception of his friends, right? Now, one of his friends had to leave and get another job. He wasn't going to let him go. Packy can't coach special teams. Like, what are we doing, Gary? Seriously. This is shenanigans. Kirk Herbstreit did the University of Miami a favor because it made them look in the mirror. At the end of the day, they have to do some soul searching. They don't want to fire the athletic director of a failing athletic program or department, whatever you want to call it, because he fundraises. Like, you can't get someone else in there to fundraise and get football people in there to make decisions that need to be made. Come on. In 6 years, this guy has had 2 people drafted. He's not going to have anyone drafted off his defense again this year that he recruited. 6 years, Gary. Al Golden got people drafted in the first round. D'Onofrio got people drafted in the first round at Miami and Temple. As terrible as he was. Manny Diaz, think about this. This is another thing, and I'll get off because I know people want to get on. I've given this deep thought, right? Since he started coaching, he's never had to play his own recruits until he got to Miami. You can go all the way back to NC State. He never stayed anywhere long enough where he can see a class through and watch him develop, right? So he doesn't know what he's doing, Gary. That's why he's asking John Ford and these guys to come back, because he's thinking that, because they're 23, they're going to figure it out. He's the same player he was when he came in right now. He might be a little stronger, he might be a little bigger, but he's not better. You think about the linebackers that we had, the 2 that left, okay, Shaq and Mike. They afforded you the opportunity to mess up maybe once or twice and still get a couple of good linebackers because you had them for 4 years. And out of all of those guys you recruited to replace them, you had to move a safety down, and you still haven't recruited another guy to play any of the positions. This is how terrible it is, Gary. We only have 2 linebacker spots. It's not like we're playing 4 like Alabama or Georgia might play. We can't field 2 linebackers. He plays a safety that instead of making a tackle, hits another man. And then the other guy that he decides to play that's a senior misses the tackle. We have on 1 over there, guys. They missed the tackle. A freshman had to run down the field and save the day. Like, fundamentally, his defense is horrible. He sets no edges. His blitzes come from 87 yards away. His blitzes come from the tunnel. Like, what are we doing? Our eyes are not fooling us. You're sitting there watching bad football game after game after game, and Scooter wants us to shut the hell up because he wants us to root for this year. Anybody that likes the University of Miami, wants us to win every single game. I want us to win every game we play. The fact of the matter is, these dumbasses in the administration are stupid enough to say, if Manny was the coach this year, we're heading in the right direction. No, the coach will have to fall apart simultaneously with us falling apart for us to even talk about winning it. And you don't want to go in a different direction? Are you nuts? Steve?
Hold on a minute.
Everything Steve said.
Deuce, hold on a minute. Scooter, you still there? Scooter, you with us?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah.
You hearing what Deuce is saying? Does it make more sense to you?
It's over your head.
That guy. But wait, I'm telling you right now. Wait, listen. This is the exact. You found him. This is the guy. He wants to fire Manny, and then he's going to fire another coach in 3 years. He's going to fire another coach in 3 years, and another one. And he's going to keep going.
Hey, Gary, did I ever say that, Gary?
This guy on the phone
That's not what he said, Scooter.
Gary,
that isn't what he said. That's not what he said.
Scooter, you're thinking too small, Scooter. It's
You're
going over your
a
head.
cell, bro. You're the reason why we had
Scooter.
like 7 different coaches in like 10 years. You're the problem.
No, you're the reason. You're the reason why they won't get any better because you still support.
You're going to fire Manny, then you're going to get another coach, then you're going to get another coach and another coach. Is that what you're going to do? That's your plan?
Hey, Gary.
Yeah,
Gary,
you sound like
he's 12.
You don't
he's
sound
12
like you know
years
much
old.
football.
Any coach,
what's the matter?
any
Bro?
coach
You don't
can
like
come in
football?
here and go 15 and 12, Gary. Any coach can come
You
here
don't
and go
like.
15
You don't
and 12.
like. This
Any
is the
coach
same
can
guy.
come in here and go 15 and 12.
We have all these players from Miami that chose Miami. 5-star players: James Williams, Leonard Taylor.
And
we
they're
got
not playing.
Thaddeus Franklin. You're not excited
playing.
about seeing them play. You
And
don't
they're
want
not
to see
playing.
them play.
Well, they're gonna.
They play
James
all
Williams
games.
is gonna play
What do you
more
think's
this
gonna
week.
happen, bro? This guy's just a hater. He doesn't want to see people shine.
Gary,
he doesn't want
how
to
am I a
see
hater,
players
Gary?
come and succeed.
Scooter, I don't think he's a hater.
And you know what, Gary, if you keep these people on, man, I can't listen to the show. I can't.
Man, get him off the show, Gary.
Every one of
This
them.
guy's a clown.
We
Get him
gotta
off the
fire
show.
Manny.
He's
We gotta
nuts.
fire Manny. And
He's
if you
nuts.
ask them who you're gonna replace Manny with, they're gonna look at Mario Cristobal. Mario Cristobal. They got like one answer.
Gary,
and then if they don't do that, they'll
Did I say any of that, Gary? Gary, did I say any of that?
No, you didn't.
If you think Mario Cristobal
This guy
leave
Scooter
Oregon
is a clown,
and come to
everybody
Miami,
knows
you're out
it.
of your
Get him
mind.
off the mic. This guy
All right,
is a clown. This guy's 17.
Scooter, I'm putting you
He's
back
in
on hold for a minute.
11th grade.
Here was the point. Here's the point I was trying to make to Scooter, is that you're coming at it from an entirely different point of view than he's coming at it from.
It's over his head, Gary. He doesn't even see
and
it.
you're both making good points from your point of view. I mean, his point of view that the whole just fire Manny for the hell of firing Manny is a good point. I mean, like, if you're going to fire Manny, the university has to have a plan. Otherwise, it's stupidity. He's not wrong about that. You're making great points from the other point of view that what's been going on here for 3 years is not good enough, and it's not getting better, and it hasn't been good enough, and it's not getting better. I mean, you started off a new season right now. All right, Alabama, fine, but you weren't even competitive. And then you're in.
Gary, we play a team with a pulse, Gary. We play a team with a pulse.
You play a team with a pulse, and you lose. And you lose, correct.
It's not even that we lose. We look terrible losing.
No, I understand.
People are laughing at us.
I get it. That's what I'm trying to tell Scooter. Like, you're not wrong.
And
you're on the opposite.
Like,
you're on the opposite end of the spectrum from where he was, and he makes some good points. But you're not wrong either. Like, it's like you're not wrong. Like, and when Florida goes and plays them down to the final play, like that's a bad look.
Exactly. And if they fire him, all I'm saying is you get the correct football people in place to make a football decision about the next coach. I don't care about who it is or what, but any coach can come to Miami and go 15 and 12. Listen, this. Oh my God, Gary, Scooter is out of his. He lost to FIU, Louisiana Tech, and Duke. Okay, they gave him another.
That was the end of year one.
Yes.
Then the end of year two lost to North Carolina, giving up more yards than any defense in school history, and losing to Oklahoma State. And now you start this year losing to Michigan State.
Got bent over by Clemson, right?
Almost got beat by Central Michigan and Appalachian State. I mean, yeah, the ledger is horrendous.
It's terrible, Gary. And another thing that we tend to forget about him is another. It was another loss he had that I was going to bring. I totally forgot. But nevertheless, you don't need 5 years to look at this guy and say, "Oh, let's give him a chance."
But all that said, Scooter, if they win Thursday night, then they got to go to North Carolina and find a way to win that. And now they're in the heart of the ACC race, and Manny won't get fired because that'll be progress. If you win the Coastal and you get to Charlotte, I don't care how average the conference is, Manny's not getting fired. That's going to be progress.
I agree.
But anything less than that is not progress. If you go 50-50 in all these games, these last 8 games, and you're sitting there with 6 losses at the end of the year, 6-6, no, that's not good enough. So it's going to take care of itself here. It's going to take care of itself.
All that's going to happen is this. If they don't fire him this year, they're going to fire him in 22. If they don't fire him in 22, they're going to fire him in 23. He does not have what it takes. You have to get a guy in that can recruit, like you said, linemen, okay? He's been here 3 years. Our line is going backwards. We have the oldest line in the country, and they're terrible, okay? We have the oldest defensive line in the country, and they're terrible. This guy brings McLeod back for his 100th year for what? To eat up snaps? He's not making the difference. And I'm not saying that we have anybody that could replace him. That's not my job.
There's nobody to replace him. Thank God he came back. Because the other guys at that position, I mean, Chance Williams is starting to flash, but, has Jafari Harvey made a play this year?
That's his job. His job is to replace those players.
I understand, but they're not doing that well enough. All right, Deuce, listen. You made Deuce, awesome call, great points. Give us a call next week. Let's see what happens Thursday night. I got 3 more guys I want to get on tonight, so I don't want to leave anybody hanging. We'll talk to you next Tuesday. All right. Absolutely. All right, man. Yes, thanks for the call. All right, 563-999-3550, 563-999-3550. We're in the home stretch here. Let's go to the 404. You're live on CaneSport Live.
Finally, Ookie gets on.
What's up, Ook? Ook, are you really a Miami fan? Tell me the truth. I'm starting to wonder.
What are you talking about, bruh? Are you really questioning me?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm just starting to wonder.
Nah, Gary. I'm just,
I'm teasing. I'm teasing you, man. Listen, what we're seeing here from these last 2 calls is you've got, and both those guys are absolutely fans. Like, you got different opinions on different ends of the spectrums. I mean, it's like it doesn't mean anybody's right or wrong. I mean, this is a hard time to be a Miami fan. This is not an easy.
It's true.
This is not easy, man.
True, but Gary, let's stop saying it's been the last 3 years because it's been the past 15. Okay.
I agree. 20. Last 20, really.
But for the exception of maybe that 1-10-win season that we had with Mark Richt, which still ended in a way poorly in Miami fashion, that's it. It's been the same thing year in and year out. And I really called because I really wanted to talk about just sideline antics are really getting on my nerves, Gary. I get it. Every program has their little turnover prop or whatever they're doing, but it's just absolutely ridiculous what I see going on Miami sideline. I don't just watch Miami football. So I watch games throughout the week. I'm watching Arkansas. I'm watching Georgia.
You're right, Ookie. What are the touchdown rings doing out when you're playing Central Connecticut State? Come on, man. Like what's the turnover chain doing out of the suitcase when you're getting blown out by Alabama? Like, you can't do stuff like that. You talk about image. Ookie, that's way worse than anything Kirk Herbstreit said.
And coaches are taking pictures with players on the sideline. I mean, it's corny. It's corny. There's nothing.
You don't see that on Alabama's sideline. You don't see it on Georgia's sideline. You don't see it on Ohio State's sideline. You don't see it on Clemson's sideline. You don't see it on Oregon's sideline. Like, there's not that crap's not going on the programs that are winning.
A rap video. It's like a damn rap video. It's supposed to be football.
I mean, I'm all for kids having a good time, but if you're beating a team 69-0 and you got to be whipping out touchdown rings, I agree with you. I don't like it.
And Gary, please, at some point, can we please ask him about that? Like, I just want to understand the mindset.
Dude, I'm not going there. That's not my. Listen, that's Manny's decision.
And another thing, all the people that's talking about, playing young guys and stuff like that, I don't think people understand. We just played Central Connecticut, okay? I don't care. I get nothing out of this game. We literally played a team that's probably up from Miami Central, and people are going crazy talking about play the young guys going forward. For what? You don't think it would have been the same outcome if you played every veteran Saturday? You learned nothing from that. Like, seriously. Like, this is my thing when it comes to recruiting, right? I look at it like a cook. Some people can go to the grocery store. You can buy groceries, Gary. You can buy groceries. But can you get in the kitchen and actually cook the damn meal? And that's the problem. We don't have good cooks. If recruiting was a 5-star restaurant, Miami would be, because we don't have good cooks. I'm so over this crap about the playing the young players. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. And you're going to see why it makes no sense when we play against Virginia. You're going to see all this All that crap y'all saw against Central Connecticut, you're not going to see that against Virginia. And everybody's going to come back down to earth. And everybody's going to want to put whoever back on the bench. Because it's not going to make a difference who you play. Whether it's Garvin, whether it's Williams. It's just, you guys just want to just be excited for the new guy. It's going to be the same shit. And now you get to play against a little better of an opponent in Virginia, which they're horrible.
They're okay on offense. Their defense is not playing well, and it's weird as hell because their coach is a defensive guy. I don't know how it fell apart on him on the defensive side of the ball, but it has.
Yeah, Gary. I'm trying
right,
to find enjoyment.
Hang in there, man. Let's see what happens Thursday night. Come back on next Tuesday. All right?
All right.
We'll talk to you then. Have a good one. 563-999-3550. You hit the 1 on your keypad. You want to come on the show. Let's go to the 786. You're live on CaneSport Live.
Hey, what's up, Gary?
Doing good. Who's this?
This is Flex. Long time.
Hey, man. What's up, Flex? Yeah, that's been a while. How you been?
Yeah, long time listening. Real good. I got the best caller tonight for you. Hope I have time. I'll start real quick.
You have time. Go, man.
There were. I heard people talking about, why should we fire Manny right now? You see what USC just did to Todd Helton? They canned him. You know why they canned him? Because that program is serious about football and they see the writing on the wall. To Scooter DuPont's argument that we shouldn't fire Manny, I don't know what the hell he's looking at. Like, you don't have to wait until it actually starts raining to see that the clouds are dark as hell sitting over the top of you. As far as Gary, I seen you make some comments on the message board with one of the subscribers about playing time with players, and you always make the analogy of, hey, the coaches are at practice watching these guys practice, and they play the best players. That's not true, Gary.
I didn't say that. No, I said they're in practice of making those evaluations. Now, whether they're making the right decision, I have no idea.
No, well, Gary, and that's why we're telling you they're not. And case in point, Scott Patchen, Gregory Rousseau. Let's move forward. That's just
that was
one
a bad
example.
one. I agree.
Mike Harley. There's been plenty of them. Mike Harley should not listen. Here. I'll give you one. Van Dyke told someone that the best cornerback on the team after Tyreek Stevens got there was DJ Ivey. And he told this person this over and over again. This is just what we're dealing with at University of Miami. I didn't even want to say that, but it just popped in my head. Here, moving forward. Mike Harley, he should not start at all. He's a 5th-year or 6th-year senior, a super senior. He's dropped already 3 or 4 balls this year. Why is he continuing to play? It makes no sense at all. He had 4 good games last year. Before that, his work showed that he's a ball dropper. Then he had 4 good games, and we thought he was just going to change after 4 good games. Whereas in his entire career, he's been a ball dropper. Okay, check this out. Someone else made a statement about why we want to get rid of Manny now instead of worried about us, competing for a Coastal. Because you know why? Because at the University of Miami, our standards are national championships, not Coastals. And so we want the long-term success of this program, and that's why we want Manny gone now. We don't give a shit about what goes on this year because we know, and you do too, Gary, you've been around it 40 years. You ain't been around it 40 years being blind. You know Manny will never get us there. He doesn't have it. Here, moving forward. Carol Sofer, I can tell you for a fact that she's told some of the board that she's going to stop coming to the games if she continues to see what's going on. Moving forward, given Mark Richt, when Mark Richt was hired, right, it was a bad hire. It was a complete bad hire. Mark Richt had showed you for 15 years what he was capable of doing, which is why Georgia let him go. Totally bad hire. But the good thing that Mark Richt did, he got the indoor practice facility built. He raised the level of money being spent at the University of Miami, and he gave the money back on the contract, which gave us, and I've heard you speak on it several times, he gave us a gift that's never given. And what did we do with it? Blake James said, this is what Blake said. Blake said he hired Manny because he was there day to day and he's seen what Manny did in the program and he knows he's the right guy. This is what Blake said. I don't know if you remember that, but that's what he said. And I'll even go further. Blake was enamored about Manny's brainchild of the turnover chain and the rings. This is what Blake said. All right, moving forward. Okay, I don't know if, and Gary, I don't want you to take this out of context. This is not anything racial or prejudice. I'm going to put that out there before I say this. But let me tell you one of the problems we have at the University of Miami, that it's just a fact, and it's a cultural thing, right? The presidents in the SEC and the Big Ten, they're American-born, homegrown, which means this. It only means that the culture that they grew up in is sports and football, and they care. If you look at our administration, right, even look at the lady Miss Silver right now, right? If you look at the president, Julio Frank, right? People, please don't take this out of context, right? But their culture, if you look at their, go Google their names and look at their family history, where they come from. Julio Frank's from Mexico City. He's a Jewish man from Mexico City. Now, what does that all mean? It only means that culturally, those people don't adhere to football and sports the way that American-grown people do. So how does it affect us? Because when they get in those positions of power, it's not important to them. You go look at the presidents at Alabama, Arkansas, any of the Big Ten schools, Ohio State, Michigan, all of those schools, those people are American-born, homegrown, and they care about sports, right? That's the only point I'm making. At the University of Miami, our president now, even Julio Frank, I just told you what his background is. Mexico City born, Jewish background. Those people usually, right, not in a bad way, just a cultural fact, they don't care about football. And that's who we have leading our athletic operations. And then they give it to a guy like Blake James. Gary, I met Blake on several different occasions by being at the Heck Center or being at the basketball arena when I go watch the games. Hey, Blake, how you doing? Shake his hand or whatever. And I watch his demeanor and his whole situation, look at his background. He has no business being our athletic director. And the only thing I hold your feet to the fire about, Gary, is that, Gary, I understand, I told you this before, that you have to go in there and interview those guys. You have to walk a very fine line because you're at the program. You're a major figure as far as press goes in our program, and I know you got to walk a fine line. But I told you this last year or year before, I don't remember. But I told you, Gary, you have enough money in the bank. And I don't mean physical money. I mean cachet of you being there for so long and the following that you have. I'm talking about that kind of money, right? That you can go a little further and pushing the envelope and making this and helping this program to get back. I see it done at other programs all the time when I go onto their YouTube channels or their message boards or what have you. Guys that have been there a long time, they really go in on the coaches way more than you do when they see the writing on the wall. Moving on about coaching and when you can see it right, how you can see it right away. Look at the University of Arkansas right now. They have a coach over there by the name of Sam Pittman, right? Sam Pittman did the same thing that we did at the University of Miami. He brought back all of these what they call super seniors, right? Guys who could have left, right? And look what he's doing. And what is it, year 2 for him, Gary? I think it is over there, Sam Pittman. I think it's year 2, right?
Yeah, he's doing a heck of a job now. He's still got to get through the rest of the season, but yeah.
No, Gary, of course. But what I'm saying is, Gary, you can see the coaching right away. And Gary, another thing that I have to tell you that I've heard you say 50,000 times, I wish you would stop. I hear you say all the time, recruiting. Gary, it's not recruiting. And when I say it's not recruiting, don't take that out of context. But you always put the cart before the horse. It's coaching. Because, Gary, we have had.
Can it be both? Flex? Can it be both?
No, it can't be. No, Gary. Let me say my point, and then you tell me what you think. It can't be. It has to be one above the other, right? And then the other super follows, right? Case in point, we have more talent on paper, according to all of the services, than every other program in the ACC except one, Clemson. So what should that give us? That should give us, if we had adequate coaching, the ACC championship game. Now, here's what happens. Now, watch this. Pay attention. When you get there consistently, when you consistently win at what your talent level is, our talent level has been at 9 and 10 wins every year. Every year, on paper, our talent says, according to all of the recruiting services, that's the only thing we have to go by, and that's what you're going by. Our talent says we should be winning 9 or 10 games. Okay, now what does that get you? That gets you program trajectory upward. And what does that give you? That gives you the next year your recruiting classes get better. And then the next year, that's what happened to Clemson. And then next year, guess what happens? They get better. And then guess what happens next year? They get better. And then it breaks through. And then it becomes a self-feeding engine. Because now it's on a level now that it just feeds itself like Miami used to do. It just fed itself. It recruited itself. But you can't get there without coaching. It's coaching.
I think it's both. I think it's coaching and recruiting, which is directly tied to the coaches. I mean, no argument there. It's not one thing.
But we have the players, but we can't win. How you keep saying that?
All right, dude. The NFL disagree with you. Seriously. I mean, if you talk to an NFL scout, which I do, about the talent level on this team, Flex, they just say it's not even close. Just telling you. Hey, listen, I'm going to let you run. I got two more guys I got to get on tonight. Call back in next Tuesday and let's continue the conversation, all right? Thanks, Flex. Thanks for being part of the show, man. All right, 563-999-3550. Actually, no, I'm not going to give you the number because I only got time for these two guys. Let's go to the 845. You're live on CaneSport Live.
Gary, how you doing?
Hey, what's up, Greg? Where you been all night, man?
I wasn't calling tonight until I heard some of these knuckleheads on the line here. This guy doesn't want to fire Manny Diaz. I'll give you a couple reasons why they should. If you take out last week's scrimmage against a little better than a high school squad, we are 116th in the country in offense with points per game and 118th in defense out of 130 teams. That's why we should fire Manny Diaz.
Are those updated stats? I haven't looked. Are those updated even after last game?
Wow. No. I took out last week's.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, right. I said, yeah, you got to take out last week to get any. Yeah, but yeah. All right.
Okay. So, I mean, that's pathetic. Did I hear you correctly say that we got $5 million for playing Alabama?
I believe that's what they made for playing in that game, yeah.
Oh, we did. You know what? Why don't we take 4 of it and get rid of Manny Diaz tonight? Okay? Don't tell me we don't have any money.
Nobody says they don't. I haven't heard anybody say the University of Miami doesn't have money. Listen, athletics took a hit last year because of COVID, but the university is doing very well, and you know, listen, they have money.
Okay, you said that you Manny would rather keep Gervin Hall in than James Williams.
No, I said I don't see James Williams getting 60. I don't see them giving James Williams 60, 70 snaps Thursday night. I think James will get more. I think they're going to phase him in and give him more than what he was getting earlier. But are they ready to give him the whole load? I doubt it.
Let me ask you a question. If we're tied on the last drive Thursday night, who would you rather have as a receiver, D. Wiggins or Romello Brinson?
Right. No, that's obvious at this point.
D. Wiggins can't catch a cold.
I can't get over it. He just keeps trying. I mean, he's always open. I'll say that he's always open, man. But God, he's always dropping the ball.
Yeah. He's like 7'11". He's always open. Big shit. Who cares if he's open? Mm-hmm. Let me ask you something. You were mentioning that running back from Michigan State that lit us up. He did squat against Nebraska. Nebraska shut him down.
Did they really?
Nothing.
Wow.
Yeah, they got lucky. They returned a punt for a touchdown to tie the game.
How many yards did he have in that game?
I don't think he had more than 60. Okay. And the quarterback that we made, the guy we made look like Tom Brady, did nothing against Nebraska. That shows you how pathetic Manny Diaz is.
Well, Nebraska's not good at all.
Yeah, well, they almost beat Michigan State at Michigan State. What does that tell you? And Wake Forest, we're worried about Virginia this week? Wake Forest smoked Virginia last week. Wake Forest, do they have any 4-stars? I don't think they do. Because they're well coached.
Wow, you're right. You're right,
Greg. This guy knows how to coach.
That kid had 19 carries, 61 yards against Nebraska. Wow.
There you go. What do you have, 170 against Manny Diaz?
Yeah.
All right.
Wow.
All right, so what do you think's going to happen if we don't win this? If we get blown out like we did at the Orange Bowl by Virginia that year, will they fire Manny Diaz? If they lose 40-10 this week, is he gone?
I think all bets are off if that happens. All bets are off.
Oh, okay.
But let's see what happens. Let's have that conversation
I'll let
next
you
week.
go.
I got one more guy we got to get on. We'll talk to you next Tuesday.
All right,
Greg.
Gary.
Thanks for calling in, man. All right, last call of the night. Let's go to the 504. You're live on CaneSport Live. How you doing this evening?
Gary, what's up, man? It's Roland from New Orleans.
What's up, Roland? Take us home. What you got?
Man, I just want to say, why the hell is Mark Pope playing cornerback right now?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't think it's worth the practice field reps, quite frankly. I don't get it, but he wanted to try it.
All I want to say, not an emotional. This is a thoughtful comment, and listen, it's so difficult to watch University of Miami not being a powerhouse, and it starts from the top down, and you have to. Well, you know what? Not you have to. They got to make changes. They have to. Manny Diaz, man, it's bad. It's bad. It really is. I mean, you got guys that are performing from a transfer portal more than you got guys that are recruiting, that they recruited. And from a developmental standpoint, I don't see the guys getting development. I just want to get your opinion on that, and I have one more comment.
I personally think it's a combination. I think that the quality of the recruiting that's been going on has been a bit deceiving. I'm not sure it's been as good as it's been packaged at times. I'm not sure it's as good as what the rankings have said it's been at times. I think the proof's in the pudding on that. And then I think in some cases the coaching hasn't been well enough and the kids aren't getting developed well enough. And certainly the game planning hasn't been good enough.
Of course they're not getting developed. I mean, it's ridiculous, man. This is the Miami, 15, 16 years? Miami, this is the brink where either they're going to make that decision to say, hey, you know what, we want to make that move and be where Miami's supposed to be. You think about all alumni, and I'm not going to get into that, but it's just forget. I don't even know the school that they played last week, but irregardless, they have to make changes, man. And I'm not talking about position changes. I'm not talking about recruiting. I'm talking about from the top down. And I'm so glad Herbstreit made that comment, because it's when you think of Miami, you think of powerhouse. You don't think of second tier. And people, you talk about the stadium and all this other BS, but it's I mean, all those kids coming out of South Florida, it's no in the world, even if it's a 3-star, a 4-star, 5-star, from a developmental standpoint, these guys are not getting developed. And I hate to call for anybody's job, but we really need to make a change from AD and as well as head coach, and that. Yeah, they need to. They have to. It's not a let's think about it. Let's make a decision. The decision has already been made, and I think it should be to move forward. That's what it is.
All right, Roland. Hey, thanks for getting in at the end here, and give us a call next Tuesday a little earlier, and we'll continue the conversation.
I appreciate it, Gary. Keep doing your thing.
All right, man. Great hearing from you as always. All right, guys. That's going to do it for tonight. I want to thank everybody that called in. An animated show, a lot of great opinions. Scooter DuPont, not everyone's going to agree with you. It doesn't mean you're all wrong either. I mean, everyone's got different viewpoints, and that's the beauty of life. That's this show, the message boards. It's everybody gets to share their opinion and get heard. So we'll see what happens Thursday night at Hard Rock. This defense that they're going against is not very good, man. Got to put points on the board, but be aware be aware of what this Virginia offense amazingly is capable of doing this year. I mean, they've gone from a relatively conservative gimmick type offense to an explosive passing game. Have gotten some really good players in. So we'll see. We'll see how it plays out on Thursday night, and then we'll be back next Tuesday to talk about it some more. So until next time, I'll say good night and goodbye, everybody.